emergency which doesn't get a censor certificate, even though you've got a BJP government in power, because there are sensitivities around how the Sikhs are perceiving what's been shown in the film. You've got outrage over Netflix's IC-814 because some of the terrorists apparently use Hindu nicknames to refer to each other. Does this really make sense? Are we getting too touchy, or should we just sit back, watch what we want to and boycott, ignore the rest without getting agitated, without wanting to beat somebody up or force our view on the other? You know, what's the best way of dealing with cinematic content we don't agree with? We'll really look at that in detail on the NewsTrack tonight.
लोगों को सिर्फ ये याद रहेगा कि इस गवर्नमेंट ने इतने मिलिटेंट्स को छोड़ा।
क्या बैड न्यूज़ है? जेपी शिमला एग्रीमेंट रेलवे स्ट्राइक। मुर्दाबाद 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 मुर्दाबाद।
Netflix series triggers controversy.
ये प्लेन हाईजैक हो चुका है। मुझ पे भरोसा करें मैं।
Fury over Hindu call signs for hijackers.
कितने पैसेंजर्स हैं? डिमांड्स
176 अभी तक कोई डिमांड नहीं आई।
पकड़ो, ठोको, कहानी खत्म। फिर क्या घंटा?
Terrorist identity deliberately hidden.
सत्ता यानी ताकत।
सरकार वो चुनिए जो आपके लिए कड़े निर्णय ले सके, जिसमें
Kangana slams double standards. Breaks on emergency film release.
Mr. Mutawakil, we can make a new beginning.
You have effectively declared war on Pakistan. You should have rethought this decision.
you have weapons.
What's fact? What's fiction? The big debate on NewsTrack.
What one side may consider to be fact, the other side thinks is fiction. How then does a cinema person, a producer, a director really make anything at all? Where does the outrage end and where does good sense begin? We look at all of that, but let me take you through the headlines I'm tracking tonight. Another setback for the Aam Aadmi Party. Amanatullah Khan arrested by the Enforcement Directorate in the Waqf job scam case. AAP cries vendetta. Delhi court reserves order on the Enforcement Directorate plea seeking 10-day custody of the AAP MLA. Nearly 30 dead in Andhra Pradesh and Telangana rain fury. Streets in Vijayawada submerged. Chief ministers of both states inspect the situation on the ground. Sexual harassment storm in Kerala gets bigger. Congress Neta expelled after flagging sexual exploitation by senior party leaders in the state. BJP hits out, says Congress failed to protect women. ICICI Bank issues clarification on the SEBI chief, says it did not pay salary or ESOPs to Madhuri Puri Buch post-retirement, denies claims made by the Congress. Popular Punjabi singer AP Dhillon's Canada home fired at. India Today accesses first video of shooting in Vancouver. Lawrence Bishnoi gang takes responsibility. Netflix's latest series, IC-814, the Kandahar attack, has triggered a big row. The makers of the web series are being accused of giving Hindu identities to the Indian Airlines flight hijackers. The truth is that the hijackers did use call signs like Bhola and Shankar, but that's not where this controversy ends. Some viewers are accusing the series of whitewashing the role of Pakistan's ISI and glorifying the terrorists. Meanwhile, the Modi government has taken note of this controversy. The government has summoned Netflix content head to the national capital tomorrow morning.
Good evening, this is your captain speaking.
दिल्ली तक का सफर हम 1 घंटा और 55 मिनट में पूरा करेंगे.
So enjoy the flight.
Days after its release, Netflix IC-814, the Kandahar Hijack, has stoked controversy. Director Anubhav Sinha has been accused of whitewashing facts by concealing religious identity of the hijackers, who were all Muslims. The 5 terrorists who hijacked the plane in December 1999 have been referred to with the code names they used while on the flight. A row has erupted over the use of Hindu aliases Bhola and Shankar for terrorist Sunny Ahmed Qazi and Mistri Zahoor Ibrahim. The BJP has called it the agenda of the left to whitewash the crimes of Pakistani terrorists.
We have a bigger problem.
All of us have memories of IC-814, how it left a scar on our nation, that trauma, and it is still not fully healed for many people. And for that to be misrepresented, that Pakistan ISI-backed hijack event to be misrepresented as something being done by Indians, I think as a personally, and my personal opinion, it is very, very unfortunate, and it is in some sense almost criminal.
INB Ministry has summoned Netflix content head Monika Shergill to seek explanation on the alleged deviation. Government sources said no one has the right to play with the sentiments of the people. Based on true events, IC-814, the Kandahar Hijack, tells the story of the longest hijacking in Indian aviation history. The series portrays incidents that took place in 1999 when a passenger plane was hijacked and rerouted several times and finally landed in Taliban-controlled territory.
We can make a new beginning.
The event sparked an international crisis and eventual release of dreaded terrorist Masood Azhar, Ahmad Omar Saeed Sheikh and Mushtaq Ahmad Zargar. Debate on whether the terrorists were humanized on the show rages on. Bureau Report, India Today.
Meanwhile, Kangana Ranaut is also under fire for her upcoming movie Emergency. She said that there are double standards when it comes to films or series made by so-called leftists, and Deshbhakts, her own film Emergency, which was to release this weekend, has been stalled despite the fact that she's a BJP MP. Kangana Ranaut says Emergency is yet to receive a censor board certification. Sikh outfits are up in arms. They want Kangana's film banned. Why? Watch this report.
सत्ता यानी ताकत.
सरकार वो चुनिए जो आपके लिए कड़े निर्णय ले सके, जिसमें दम हो.
Kangana Ranaut's Tara Emergency, that was expected to hit the theatres this week, has run into trouble. This film is yet to get approval from the Central Board of Film Certification. The actor also took to social media platform X to lash out, comparing her film's release being blocked to the controversy surrounding Netflix series.
Good evening, this is your captain speaking.
IC-814, the Kandahar Hijack. The actor said, while there is a freedom for leftists for anti-national expressions, nationalists are not allowed to make films that revolve around the integrity and unity of Bharat. Sikh organizations in Punjab, Telangana, New Delhi, Uttar Pradesh and other states are demanding a ban on Emergency. Sikh bodies allege that the film has misrepresented the community and that it will promote hatred. The charge is that the film claims that Khalistani terrorist Jarnail Singh Bhindranwale has demanded the creation of a separate homeland and that the excesses of Indira Gandhi have not been appropriately shown.
हमारा दलील के ऊपर है, हमारा कोई हिस्ट्री बिगाड़ी जा रही है और सिख करेक्टर है जो उसका जो हनन किया उसका हनन एक हिसाब से किया जा रहा है, तो उसके खिलाफ हमने जो एक्चुअल बात थी वो बताई थी और उसके बाद में श्रोमणी गुरुद्वारा प्रबंधक कमेटी ने उनको नोटिस भी जारी किया, कानूनी नोटिस जारी किया और कुछ लोगों ने हाई कोर्ट में भी जाके इसके खिलाफ अपनी रिट पिटीशन डाली है.
की नजर आपकी कुर्सी.
Politicians in Punjab have also hit out at Kangana Ranaut and her film.
पूर्ण व्यवस्था बदलने का.
ये ਜਿਹੜੇ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਇਕੱਠੇ ਕਰਨ ਦੇ ਬਜਾਏ ਵੰਡੀਆਂ ਪਾਉਣ ਦੀ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਦੀ ਹੈ, ਬਿਲਕੁਲ ਝੂਠੇ ਬੇਬੁਨਿਆਦ ਜਿੰਨਾ ਇਹਨੂੰ ਇਹਦੀ ਨਖਿਦੀ ਕੀਤੀ ਜਾਏ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਲੱਗਦਾ ਘੱਟ ਹੈ, ਲੇਕਿਨ ਦੂਜੀ ਬੀਬੀ ਦੇ ਬਾਰੇ ਬੋਲਦੇ ਹੋਏ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਦੁੱਖ ਲੱਗਦਾ ਹੈ. ਮੈਂ ਤਾਂ ਕਹਿੰਦੀ ਭਾਜਪਾ ਇਹਨੂੰ ਅੱਜ ਤੱਕ ਇਹਦੇ ਖਿਲਾਫ ਐਕਸ਼ਨ ਕਿਉਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਲੱਤਾ ਹੈ? ਇਕੱਲੇ ਇੱਕ ਚਿੱਠੀ ਲਿਖਣ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਫਟਕਾਰ ਕੀ ਇਹਦੇ ਖਿਲਾਫ ਐਕਸ਼ਨ ਲਓ, ਇਹਨੂੰ ਕੱਢੋ, ਇਹਨੂੰ ਸਸਪੈਂਡ ਕਰੋ.
ਇਹ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਐਸਜੀਪੀਸੀ ਨੂੰ ਉਹ ਪਿਕਚਰ ਦਿਖਾ ਕੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਤੋਂ ਪ੍ਰਵਾਨਗੀ ਲਈ ਜਾਵੇ. ਜਿਹੜਾ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕੰਗਣਾ ਨੂੰ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ, ਕੰਗਣਾ ਨੂੰ ਕੋਈ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਸੀਰੀਅਸ ਨਹੀਂ ਲੈਣਾ ਚਾਹੀਦਾ.
ਕਿਸੇ ਦੀ ਵੀ ਭਾਵਨਾ ਨੂੰ ਠੇਸ ਪਹੁੰਚਾਉਣ ਵਾਲੇ ਇਦਾਂ ਦੇ ਕੋਈ ਸੀਨ ਹੋਏ ਕਿਸੇ ਵੀ ਧਰਮ ਨੂੰ ਠੇਸ ਪਹੁੰਚਾਉਣ ਵਾਲੇ ਸੀਨ ਹੋਏ ਤਾਂ ਜ਼ਰੂਰ ਇਹਦੇ ਤੇ ਵਿਚਾਰ ਕਰਕੇ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਬੈਨ ਹੈ ਉਹ ਕੀਤਾ ਜਾਊਗਾ।
Sources in the Modi government say that sensitive content in the film is being taken seriously and that religious sentiments cannot be hurt.
सारे देश में तुम्हारे खिलाफ नफरत का माहौल पैदा होता जा रहा है। नफरत, नफरत, नफरत।
Bureau Report, India Today.
This debate has so many different shades, and I hope to build on all of those. As I introduce you to our panelists for this broadcast, Abhijit Iyer Mitra, writer and commentator, Advaita Kala is a screenwriter and author, Sanjay Jha is author and commentator, Saira Shah Halim is a political activist, and Meghna Pant is an author. I want to start by Abhijit Iyer Mitra, and I'll stay for a moment on the IC814 Netflix series, and then we'll come to what's happening with Kangana's emergency. Now, Abhijit, you have taken the position that IC814 is left-wing anti-India propaganda. I want you to explain that to our viewers, because the counter to that would be that this is based on true events. The fact is the terrorists did, despite the intel warnings that we have, managed to hijack IC814. They did take it to Kandahar. This was a massive embarrassment, and therefore the underlying suggestion is that this BJP government and its ecosystem is upset because it showed what happened under the Vajpayee government. So why are you so angry about IC814? Explain that and then we'll build on it.
Thank you, Rahul. I'm not angry. It's just that I have a whole load of contempt for Bollywood and Bollywoodias in general. So they're too low grade to get me angry. But let's talk about the facts of the movie. Like you said, based on real events. So, you know, in the very first scenes, they've changed the foreign minister, who was Jaswant Singh, to somebody called Vijay Singh or Vijay Bhan Singh, or I don't know what it is. So they've taken a considerable amount of artistic license there. Throughout it, in trying to humanize the terrorists and the hijackers, they've taken a considerable amount of artistic license. Fine. Now, Shankar and Bhola are actually the names the hijackers took, because if you remember, within the first few hours of the hijacking, the then Pakistan information minister, was it the information minister or foreign minister, I forget, had come out and said that one of the hijackers is a Kashmiri Hindu. Right? They have been playing this game for a very long time, which is why Ajmal Kasab also was wearing the kaleba when he came, because they wanted to portray this as a Hindu terror attack or whatever it was. Now, for the director to take artistic license with everything else, but use the Shankar and Bhola, which was the ISI propaganda line, is a bit rich, right? Number one. Number two, what he's gone and done is, if you just follow, and he's done this with an agenda. Why do you know it? See, the action by itself could be fairly innocent. The problem is, if you go on Twitter and see who all he follows, he keeps following all the people who keep putting forward these conspiracy theories of Hindu terror and things. Saema, Rana Ayub, etc., fiction writers, failed poets, so on and so forth. So it's intent plus the act of commission out here. And like I said, I don't take these clowns of Bollywood very seriously.
Okay, so you're basically making the point, and a lot of people have said that IC814 should be banned because it shows these two call signs. It shows these two call signs of these terrorists using Hindu names, which from the book, you know, it's also based on the pilot's book. And from what we gather from the book, those are the call signs they use. So he can say, you know, this is actually representing what's been written by the pilot of IC814 in his book.
Yes, but the pilot doesn't humanize the terrorists. The pilot also doesn't say the foreign minister was some Vijay Bhan Singh.
But isn't it better not to show the name of the real foreign minister? Because then it's no longer a film, right? Okay, let me go across to Saira Shah Halim and bring her in as well. Now, here is someone who many on the right seem to think is clearly a left-leaning filmmaker, and everyone's entitled to his politics, so that's fine. The second charge is that it's humanizing the terrorists, you know, making them seem like they were good human beings. The terrorists and the passengers ultimately end up playing Antakshari, so that this isn't shown to be the travesty that it actually was, and the fact that, you know, this was one of the biggest slip-ups in national security intelligence, that this somehow seems to have had a great human bonding and element to it, which is what many people seem to be objecting to, Sarah.
So firstly, good evening, Rahul. I watched the entire series last night, and I can well say that nowhere is it glorifying terrorism, or nowhere does it celebrate or show kind of bonhomie with the protagonist and the terrorist or anything like that. I can understand, like jobless trolls from the IT cell who troll and peddle hatred, on X and social media. But now, it's like the ministry is engaging in such frivolity, which is really, really appalling. Now, I want to ask Abhijit one question. Firstly, this incident happened during the BJP regime. Now, the question arises is, who permitted IC-814 to take off from Amritsar and land in Kandahar? Certainly not Anubhav Sinha. Who escorted Masood Azhar, Umar Sheikh, Mustaq, Zargar, and also alleged cash into the arms of the Taliban, helping to create the Jaish-e-Mohammed, which further led to a parliament attack in 2001. Definitely not Anubhav Sinha. So the main question is, this entire incident happened during the BJP regime. Let's not try and deflect the issue.
Okay, Advaita Kala, the counter charge is very simple.
Rahul,
That the government...
Let me come back.
Okay, very quick. Because respond to the counter charge that this is a massive security failure. It happened at a time when a lot of people who are currently also in this administration had important roles to play, and everybody's very touchy because this mess happened on their watch, which is why they're looking for some reason or the other to agitate against it.
On point one, please note, I haven't raised the question of the compound failures of both intelligence and leadership that happened under the Vajpayee government and the intelligence services. They need to be condemned, they need to be eviscerated and done so very, very strongly, number one. Okay, I was talking about the way propaganda has been, Pakistani propaganda has been further propagated in this movie. As for point number two, yes, it wasn't Anubhav Sinha, but please read Kanchan Gupta's post. It was your party leader, Miss Brinda Karat, who was going on saying Masood Azhar is very innocent, he's a very secular boy, he's so sweet, whatnot, who was sitting with all the relatives outside the Prime Minister's house, then whipping them into a frenzy and getting them to go about beating cops and demand the release of all those people. That was your leader. Please go ask her, why does your leader support terrorism on one hand?
I can't have both guests speaking over each other. I've given both of you an opportunity to make your opening comments. I want to throw it open to the others. Advaita Kala, now, you're a filmmaker, you're an author, you've been involved with films and projects and productions yourself. The thing is, it is made from somebody's point of view. Like Emergency is made from Kangana Ranaut's point of view. She's a BJP MP, she has a right-wing perspective, and naturally those who aren't from that point of view will maybe not like Emergency. The thing is, where do you draw the line? Now, if there are some people who are offended with IC-814, is it appropriate for the Information and Broadcasting Ministry to call in the Netflix head honcho and say, explain what's happening in this film? It's somebody's perspective, which is the case with all cinema.
Right, and that should be the case, ideally. And my default setting obviously is free speech and all of those things that go with it, because it's a question of livelihood for someone like me. However, I think when you are speaking of true events, especially events that have scarred the nation's psyche, it could be 9/11 in the... Now, if you're going to speak about the bumbling bureaucracy and the polity of that time, no problem. Please go ahead and represent them if that's who they really were. And it was a colossal failure. And if that has been entered in the series of the film, but if you're going to then extend this largesse or this Che Guevara treatment to terrorists who are out there for a very specific purpose, who had a very specific agenda, if you're going to humanize them, if you're going to have a character say this person is hot, if you're going to give the ISI a clean chit, people are going to have a problem with it. And just saying that, oh, these were the call signs which were Hindu names, sure, I didn't use that. That is factually correct. That is what they used. But have you at any point indicated that these were aliases? that these were not actually
but
their
surely
real
you
names?
know that.
Did you
know,
put that
once
at the
again,
end?
because in the
At the
beginning
end?
it's
No,
quite
do not
clear that
assume.
they are Muslim by religion and these are Islamic terrorists.
Quite
Surely
clear
he doesn't
for
need to put a disclaimer that this Bhola is not his
Quite
real
clear.
name. I mean,
No,
who
but
makes a
I
film
think-
like that?
No, it isn't.
No,
It
Rahul,
isn't
you can
clear.
do it in two
Rahul,
ways. You
isn't
can put a
clear.
disclaimer at the end of the series, or you can even write it into the script where you have a moment of oversight and the two refer to each other by their real names and then clam up. I mean, there are a lot of creative remedies.
Okay, Sanjay Jha, Advaita Kala says they should have put a disclaimer that Bhola and Shankar are aliases, call signs, nicknames. These are not their real names. That somehow the filmmaker seems to have a left-leaning bias. He seems to follow, as Bijit Iyer says, people who have taken strident anti-government positions, and this is basically putting out a left-leaning point of view, and therefore the right-wing...
Rahul, anti-Hindu.
Okay, anti-Hindu, and therefore...
And they say Hindu terror, Hindu genocides and whatnot. And they're the biggest supporters of Hamas and every Islamic terrorist group on earth, people like Saima and Rana Ayyub.
And therefore, it is bona fide, they argue, for the Information and Broadcasting Ministry to call the Netflix head honcho and get them to explain what's going on in IC 814. Sanjay Jha.
Rahul, just give me a minute and I will debunk why the right wing today appears so rattled. The entire ecosystem of Mr. Modi's government, for whom the obsession is national security, today stands exposed. Let me expose Mr. Mitra right away on your program. Number one, does he even know that India's Home Minister, L.K. Advani, who is in charge of security, said that he had no idea. He had no idea that Jaswant Singh was traveling with terrorists on a plane to release them in Kandahar. I think the reason why the right wing today appears to be extremely paranoid, disturbed, and probably over the top is because their entire obsession of this muscular nationalism has been torn to shreds and exposed based on history. What is the second reality, Rahul? I'm not indulging in the rhetoric that Mr. Mitra did. I'm going to give you a second fact. The raw chief, former raw chief, A.S. Dulat, went on record to tell that the government goofed up. Those are his words, saying no decisions were taken and it was a colossal failure. Point number three, the plane was for 45 minutes in Lahore, but Mr. Vajpayee's government
No, it wasn't in Lahore, it was in Amritsar. You got your facts wrong there.
No, but in Amritsar for
Rahul,
45
I just
minutes.
want to repeat,
And the
I
Punjab
started off
police,
saying
just don't
this was a
interrupt me,
monumental
please.
government failure.
Please do not
He's
interrupt
just
me.
repeating it, he's
Please
not
do not
answering your
interrupt me.
question, and he's
Rahul, this is
diverting.
not a fair
Abhijit Iyer,
debate.
let
You're
him
allowing
speak.
me
Let
to
him
interrupt
speak.
me.
I'll come back to you in just a moment. Sanjay Jha, complete your argument. It was Amritsar, not Lahore, but go on.
So I'm making that correction. It was in
Go on.
had the wherewithal to stop the plane from taking off, but Mr. Vajpayee's government was sleeping. These are three hard realities nobody from the BJP can contradict. Point number four, the reason why they're worried is because the people of India are watching the truth on a party that has fooled the country on their national security hype. Everybody knows that even in Kargil, there was a shepherd by the name of Tashi Namgayal who alerted the Indian army. That was the intelligence failure of the BJP. I mean, these are the truths that people need to know.
Okay.
I think people need to know about the Gujarat files. They need to know about the Manipur files. They need to know about the Muzaffarnagar files. They need to know about the Rafael files. They need to know about the Adani files. They need to know about the Delhi riot. Them be out in the open. Respect the verdict of the audience. Stop clamping on freedom.
You know, it's all happening, Meghna Pant, at the same time. If it was just outrage against IC 814, it would be one thing. But Kangana Ranaut is crying and she's upset as well, saying that my certification has been put off.
Right.
The fact is that what happened during the emergency and the anti-Sikh riots was terrible. My own family went through some of it. So many people who we knew growing up also suffered. And therefore, what happened was really, really brutal and terrible. Yet the certification has been held off. Now, is this all linked to politics? You think that everybody is basically looking at it from their political lens? What they see in the front screen which they like, they say, this is good. Whatever they see they don't like, they say, hatao isko.
I think, Rahul, I want to bring a little bit of, this political mudslinging and it'll go on and on, all the social media posturing. I think at the heart of the matter, let's discuss that. I don't think anybody's getting to that. the tussle between the art and the censor is centuries old and it's going to continue, for aeons ahead. I'm coming to you as an artist who is living in an environment where there's so much fear, there's so much self-censorship that's going on. And I'm someone who believes in freedom of expression, but I also cannot ignore the fact that freedom of expression now comes with responsible freedom of expression. And the heart of this debate, the heart of the matter, which everybody needs to understand is what is the intent? A terrorist and a surgeon both murder, but we distinguish one as a murderer and the other as a savior because of one thing and one thing only, what is the intent? And I'm on the side of the makers here. Anubha Sinha is a responsible filmmaker. Netflix is a responsible streaming platform. I don't think the intent here was to be malicious or to be provocative. That said, we also have to understand that what needs to change is the law of the land. Why is the onus coming on artists or creative platforms? The law of the land. Because we live in a democracy and we have not faced something like this for such a long, this tussle for such a long time, let there be a universal law that cuts across all medium, that defines very narrowly and very strictly what are the contours of free speech, what are the contours of creative freedom. Let artists and creators such as myself understand this so we know what is right and what is wrong. Here it's all so muddled, it's so confusing. We are all living in fear of being cancelled or being incarcerated. So the law of the land has to be on the side.
But Adwaita, you said in your opening comments that the air hostess calls one of the terrorists cute. The thing is that this is when the passengers are just walking in and the air hostess at that time doesn't know he's a terrorist, and therefore when these two ladies are talking, they say, oh, he's cute. Which seems like a perfectly normal kind of banter or conversation between these two air hostesses. Why object to something like that? I mean, how would, you're a filmmaker yourself, you're an author, how will anybody make any film if some Advaita Kala stands up and says, they were terrorists, why is the air hostess calling the terrorist cute? Hey, at that moment she didn't know he was a terrorist.
No, I don't think it's necessarily, I think there's differences, Rahul, there's a difference. There's treatment, there's the actual story, there's the actual script arc. There are various layers to this, as well as the disclaimers that come with it being an actual project that is based on truth and facts, allegedly. So we can get all of these muddled. The bottom line is that if you compare the treatment along with the lens through which it has been viewed, let
me then flip it around and ask you about the emergency. Which lens is emergency made from? Should Kangana Ranaut get a certificate from the censor board or not?
Well, see, now here's the difference, right? Because the OTT platforms do not go through any form of censor. They are supposed to self-regulate when it comes to content. However, a film in India does go through the censor board and does go through the process. So if Kangana Ranaut, irrespective of being a BJP MP, is going through the process, facing the kind of cuts that she needs to face, I think she's well within her right to appeal it, and I think the censor board is within its right to tell her. However, with the OTT platforms, it's a free ride. Be it sex, be it nudity, be it communal themes, be it taking liberty with history, be it any of those things, the OTTs are answerable to no one. So let them at least be answerable to some Advaita Kala and the audience in general, Rahul. Why are you batting for them?
No, I'm not batting for anyone. I don't bat for anyone. My job is to play the role of the devil's advocate and to ask questions. No, but here's the thing. No, Abhijit Iyer Mitra, should Kangana Ranaut's emergency get the censor certificate or not? The BJP MP seems quite upset. I mean, which lens is she making this film from? Surely it can be nobody's case that she's a non-partisan, unattached observer of events and that's how she's making the film. That's clearly not the case.
So who said she's unattached? She's a BJP MP. My point is there should be no censorship in India. I fall on the other side. Neither should this IC 814 be banned, nor should Kangana's film have any kind of cuts in it. I'm very clear about this. I'm very open about this. But let's just address two quick points that the previous participants, I don't know the lady's name. She said Netflix is a professional company. Last year, they lost $18 billion in value. The previous Netflix chief was notorious for giving contracts for movies and things like that to her cronies and produced flop show after flop show after flop show, one after the other. She was also, her entire cabal used to be very close to a certain event manager who's caught up in the entire Delhi liquor scam. And you know exactly where that was going. Number one. Number two, You know, see, Sanjay Jha, what did I start off with? I said, please eviscerate the Vajpayee government. But the problem with Sanjay is he can't listen. You see, either he has his English comprehension issues or he has premature onset of deafness. So I don't know which one it is. Thank you.
Now, Sanjay Jha,
Yeah.
you know, the fact is that the Congress is opposing the emergency. Now, suddenly, many in the left ecosystem very strongly for IC 814. What happened during the emergency was brutal. It was completely unacceptable. There were excesses at every turn. Kangana Ranaut captures some of that in her film, and yet many in the Congress ecosystem want the film banned. I heard what Channi said. He said, no, we don't want this to come in Punjab. Your Chief Minister in Telangana, Revanth Reddy, is saying the same. He doesn't want it in Telangana. So now, how do you have these differential standards?
You know, Rahul, before I answer your question, having been part of several debates, whenever an opponent of my viewpoint indulges in cheap homonym comments, I know they have lost the debate, but I'm not going to lower the debate today. It is very interesting that the gentleman on your program sounding so sanctimonious, where was he when the Kashmir Files was a blockbuster? Where was he when the Kerala story was being quoted by the Prime Minister himself? In fact, Mr. Modi supported two films that many people trashed as being nothing but a figment of somebody's wild imagination, a fabrication promoted by the Prime Minister of India. For God's sake.
Are you saying the Kashmir Files is not based on true events?
Well, let me tell you, there was a lot of stuff
According
there,
to him,
and I
the
have
Kashmiri
seen the film,
Pandit genocide
which
never
a lot
happened.
of people.
Sanjay Jha, you watch what you say. Surely you are not saying that there was no genocide and that Kashmiri Pandits were not targeted. That's not appropriate.
Well, I'm making a different point. There was a lot of fabrication and people went and pointed that out. But let me make a bigger point here. Let me make a bigger point here. Now, don't try and delay the debate.
Okay, Abhijit, let him complete. Abhijit, let him complete.
Let me make the bigger point here. The bigger point is very simple. The reason why the right-wing ecosystem is rattled is because
you aren't answering my question. I dealt with IC 814 first. I'm asking you about the emergency and why so many in the Congress want emergency banned.
Well, I'm answering you on that. On the emergency, I can see that a lot of the farmers are protesting because we have heard the leading actor of this film making extremely, shall we say, contemptuous remarks, highly deplorable, for which I think her own party has castigated her to take back those statements. You can imagine how the farmers feel, or the Punjabis or the Sikhs feel.
No, but why ban the film?
In the film?
Why ban the film? Why say we won't show it in Telangana or Punjab? That's what Revanth Reddy is saying. That's what Channi is saying.
I am not supporting the ban of the film at all. In fact, I think the emergency should be released, as should the Gujarat 2002 riots, as should be the emergency over the 2014 to 24, as should be the Adani files, as should be the Rafael files. Absolutely. Okay. I think we need to be a lot more of a mature democracy.
Now, Saira Shah Halim, suddenly the perspective changes. Those who are, very rah-rah about IC 814 say, but emergency can cause problems. There could be a Sikh backlash, that the Sikhs are feeling that they've been victimized and shown in bad light, and therefore there's a pushback. I mean, every film is made from some lens or the other, and that's the prerogative of the filmmaker.
Okay, so Rahul, firstly, the irony is that people who look at films like Kashmir Files as the gospel truth are having a major, meltdown, because suddenly they're looking for accuracy, they want nuances.
But you aren't answering my question, Saira Shah Halim. Should emergency come out as is? Do you think Kangana Ranaut is correct when she says the censors are giving her a rough time for no reason?
I am absolutely against censorship, on the OTT platform. I think there has to be creative liberty. And whatever side of the fence you're on, I think that way I agree with Abhijit. I am absolutely, in support of, creative liberty and freedom of expression, as far as, because it's an artist's perception about a certain incident. We might differ on how certain events in history unfold. But, history cannot be played around with completely. Yeah, they can be, turning, of the truth, but you can't totally, evade the truth or totally cancel the truth. And BJP, is an expert in doing away with the truth, like removing chapters of history, like the Mughal Empire. They just feel that, the medieval history did not exist. So I do not believe in that. You cannot delude yourself into believing that India existed without the medieval history, without Akbar, without the medieval history. There has to be an element of truth. But yes, I think
But the problem, Meghna Pant, is, while I've seen IC814, I've only seen the trailer for the emergency. You've got in that film Indira Gandhi saying apparently that India is Indira, Indira is India. That's not a factual representation. That's D.K. Barua who actually coined the saying that India is Indira and Indira is India. This is around 1977. So a lot of it is made, and while we had Kangana Ranaut in our studios and she said this is a lot of academic research, a lot of it is just political narratives being peddled during the film, which she's entitled to. But it's not purely non-partisan research. There's a lot of political ideologies that are being pushed through.
Yeah, and Rahul, what I'm not understanding is why aren't we taking preemptive measures if we are so easily offended, if we are so easily hurt, if our sensibilities are so frail? Art cannot be decoded. Every person experiences art in a different fashion. So you can't tell people how to experience a film or experience a book or experience a piece of art. So the law of the land has to change. And I'm saying this again and again. The onus is not on the portal. The onus is not on the creator. The onus is on setting clear guidelines and rules that what are the contours of free speech and creative freedom. And within that, then the responsible freedom of expression that I spoke of earlier comes on the artist. Then the onus comes on the creator. But you cannot say that, okay, we're going to be offended by everything.
If everybody starts defining what's okay by them and what's not okay by them,
how do we know what is
maybe at the end of it, all we can do is make bhajans, right? You can't do anything else. Somebody or the other will get offended.
Art is supposed to be disruptive. Art is supposed to push the envelope. Otherwise, we live in a provincial town, and a country such as ours, with such a rich history of storytelling, why should we lose that? Because we're so living in fear all the time.
Here's the thing. If there hadn't been this outrage against IC814, maybe fewer people would have watched it, much fewer people would have watched it. And even with emergency, the fact that there is now so much curiosity and buzz, and we saw that in the case of Padmavat back a few years ago, the moment there is buzz and chatter, then they say, laga ke dekho, ye hai kya? Otherwise people would have just series come, series go, very few people watch, whatever number of people watch, but suddenly when there's so much buzz and amplification, then everybody wants to watch.
Sure, absolutely. It's a crowded marketplace. So there's no such thing as bad publicity in showbiz, if I was to be completely cynical about it. And I certainly wouldn't be weeping any tears if anything of mine was attracting this kind of attention, even if it is negative. And I'm sure no one really is, ostensibly or at least isn't. But I think the important thing here is that with each creative work must be judged on its own merit and not plugged with each other. And on the other hand, also, I think when it comes to true life incidents, if you were to relook at Gandhi now, which was made in the 80s and won all those awards, if you view it today, you'll find a lot of things that are very problematic with that film as well, which is known to be a classic. So art also is viewed differently as the audience changes. Now, the audience in 2024, which is far more aware of terror as opposed to what was happening back in 1999 and has experienced terror in various forms across the globe, is going to respond and have a certain hypersensitivity to terror, which did not necessarily exist earlier. And that's the reason why, to a certain extent, you're seeing this response, because it's abhorrent. Terrorists cannot be humanized in any form. There has to be complete.
No, but it's also a lot about, what lens you see it from. Lots of people of a different political ideology will see IC814 and say, we saw the whole thing, but where were they humanizing the terrorists? A lot of people have come out and said the same thing as well. Okay.
9/11 happened. Do you see a humanization of the terrorists? You don't.
Okay, Sanjay Jha, on the charge of humanizing the terrorists. Final words and then I'm out of time.
Well, let me tell you, I have seen a couple of episodes. I think the director has tried to put it across in a dispassionate way. I think the right wing calling it a leftist propaganda is a massive joke. Anybody who criticizes the government is anyway called an urban naxal, right? Why is Mr. Modi's government so thin-skinned? Because at the moment, and I keep repeating that point, Rahul, try and understand why the government and the right wing are trolling Anubhav Sinha. Because it makes the Vajpayee government look absolutely incompetent, like a bunch of duffers. The Home Minister did not know that Jaswant Singh was going with the terrorists. It's written that in his autobiography, for heaven's sake. I mean, do you need further evidence of how badly Kandahar was basically bungled, the hijack? So it's basically an attempt to try and deflect attention from a monumental and a mammoth failure. Kargil was one. I think there should be a movie made on Kargil as well.
Sure. The reality is that for 40 plus minutes, Indian Airlines' flight IC814 stood at the Amritsar airport. There were enough mechanics available for us to be able to, shoot at the wheels of the plane, to send the Punjab police commandos in. Enough and more could have been done. It is the failure of the Indian system where a decision couldn't be taken and the commandos were not sent in. Critical lens needs to be brought to that. Make no mistake about it. It's also correct that no terrorist needs to be shown in a fashion that people go back thinking, hey, he's not such a bad guy after all. That's not the right thing to do. The happiest at this moment, of course, would be the filmmakers, because suddenly so many more people are ending up watching IC814 than would have been the case otherwise. It would have just come and gone. A regular number of people would have seen it. Now everybody wants to see what the fuss is all about. And that's also the reality about showbiz. The fact is that there are no clear answers. Everybody has their point of view. And what you did during the last half hour is listen to different perspectives from different points of view, cutting across the political spectrum. And I leave it to you, our viewers, to decide who you think held for tonight and whose point of view you agree with. I'm going to slip into a quick break. When we come back, Supreme Court talks stuff on bulldozer action, says it will issue pan-India guidelines. Details coming up on the other side.
Razr 50 Ultra comes with Google Gemini.
एक दोस्त है जिससे बात किए बिना हम रह नहीं सकते। बातें घंटों की हों या कुछ सेकंड्स की। कुछ बातें दूर से हो जाती हैं और कुछ नजदीक आके। दोस्त से बात करो जब दिल घबराए या जब दिल धूम मचाए। ये दोस्त हमेशा हमारी बात सुनता है, सोमवार हो या रविवार हो या कोई त्योहार हो, क्योंकि हमारा सबसे अच्छा दोस्त भगवान ही तो है। मंगलती, दिल से करो बात भगवान के साथ।
Make your media plan smarter with India Today Live TV on your connected devices. Amplify your brand with 100 million smart internet viewers. To advertise, mail us at sales@aajtak.com.
We've got information coming in that the former principal of RG Kar Medical College and Hospital, Sandeep Ghosh, has been arrested by the CBI. For more details on this, I'm joined by our Kolkata Bureau Chief, Indrajit Kundu. Indrajit, what are the charges that have been levelled by the CBI? This is the first arrest they've made since they began the investigation.
Well, that's right. Very, very crucial. Sandeep Ghosh, always on the radar. For 2 weeks, he has been grilled by the CBI, and there was anticipation that was building that finally there would be some, arrest that would be made by the central agency. In fact, pressure was mounting on the central agency. Even as we speak, there were doctors protesting on the streets of Kolkata. So finally, Sandeep Ghosh has been arrested by the Central Probe Agency. He has, of course, been arrested on a different case, not in connection to the rape and murder that has taken place at the Arjikar Hospital on 9th of August. He has, of course, been arrested in connection to the investigation into the financial irregularities that the Central Bureau of Investigation is also investigating. Remember, Rahul, there was an SIT that was formed by the West Bengal government to look into...
What kind of financial irregularities, Indro?
Well, there are multiple allegations. There are allegations of misappropriation of government funds. There are allegations of mismanagement of, the dead bodies, serious allegations. So there are multiple allegations that have surfaced over the past several weeks, especially by whistleblowers who have also come on our network and spoken about them. The government had taken note and formed an SIT. However, the Kolkata High Court later on had transferred the case to the CBI, saying that given that the CBI is probing the rape and murder case, the single agency should also be probing the financial irregularities. The CBI, of course, in their investigation of the past 14 days, haven't been able to gather concrete evidence to arrest Sandeep Ghosh, is what we are learning from our sources. But it was imminent that there is some evidence as far as the financial impropriety is concerned.
Okay,
and
Indrajit Kundu, we'll come back to you for more later. Thank you for joining us with that update. The Supreme Court had some tough words for the practice of demolishing houses or properties of those who are accused of crimes, and said it would issue guidelines to tackle such cases of bulldozer justice. A bench of Justices B.R. Gawai and K. P. Vishwanathan said that such demolition cannot be allowed only because a person is accused of a criminal offence. Our Law Today team with this report.
An illegal multi-story complex allegedly belonging to rape-accused Samajwadi Party Neta in Ayodhya being razed to the ground a couple of weeks ago. On Monday, the Supreme Court, hearing a bunch of pleas against this so-called bulldozer justice, said that it will issue pan-India guidelines. A bench of Justices B.R. Gawai and K.V. Vishwanath observed that a house cannot be demolished even if the person has been convicted. Justice K.V. Vishwanath said that nobody should take advantage of lacunas that a father may have a recalcitrant son, but if house is demolished on this ground, this is not the way to go about it. The court said that such demolition can happen only if the structure is illegal. Solicitor General Tushar Mehta, who was appearing for the centre and BJP-ruled state, said that bulldozer action is taken only if there are municipal law violations. To which the Supreme Court responded that looking at the complainants, the top court felt that there was a breach.
अगर कोई मकान, दुकान या कोई निर्माण कार्य किसी अवैध स्थान पर है, अतिक्रमण करके बनाया गया है, नियमों का उल्लंघन करके बनाया गया है, तो निश्चित तौर पर उस अतिक्रमण को गिराया जाएगा। बुलडोजर की यह कार्रवाई विधि की परिधि के दायरे में हुई है।
आज सर्वोच्च न्यायालय ने जो तीखी टिप्पणी बुलडोजर के मामले में करी है, ये दिखाता है कि ये किस तरह से गैर संवैधानिक, गैर कानूनी तरीके से भारतीय जनता पार्टी की सरकार काम कर रही थी और चुन चुन कर मुसलमानों को, ब्राह्मण्स को निशाना बना रही थी। हम आशा करते हैं सर्वोच्च न्यायालय से कि जो इस पे गाइडलाइन आएगी, इस तरह के किसी भी कार्रवाई पर इमीडिएट रोक लगे।
Over the past few years, several state governments have demolished houses and properties belonging to those involved in serious crimes. The Supreme Court posted the matter for hearing on September 17th. With Kanu Sharda in New Delhi, Bureau Report, India Today.
A 2-year-old girl has been killed and 3 others injured as wolves continue to terrorize Uttar Pradesh's Bhareich. The latest attacks took place despite officials from the Forest Department patrolling the area. The hunt is on for 2 wolves that are still on the loose.
पैर से विकलांग है, सही 2 हैं, इधर की तरफ 2 आए हैं।
देखा है, बहुत करीब से देखा है।
Man-eater wolves continue to unleash terror in Uttar Pradesh. A 3-year-old child was killed in a wolf attack on Monday while a woman sustained injuries in wolf-infested Bahraich. The toddler was killed in forested Hardi area while she was sleeping outside her house with her mother. A wolf snatched the child by grabbing her by the neck.
You can clearly see a lot of villagers present here as you see the visuals as they have assembled right here, encircled this particular house. So that could be the sense, what's the atmosphere inside this particular house where the scathing attack happened on a 3-year-old girl.
3 बताल में हमरे बच्चे को उठा लिया।
ये आता है तो आप जग रही होती, सो रही होती?
सो ही गए रहने वाले।
तो आप आवाज सुनती हैं बच्ची की?
आवाज ना आए, बच्चे की आवाज ना आए पावा।
बच्ची की आवाज नहीं आती?
बच्चे की आवाज ना आए पाए साहब, बच्चे की आवाज जा पाए हुई तो उठ पड़े। घाटी दाब दे समरे बच्चे की आवाज ना आए पावा।
In another attack, 70-year-old Kamla Devi was injured when a wolf entered her house and attacked her on Monday morning. She escaped with grievous injuries.
भेड़िया चबा लिया मेरी नट्टी।
आपने देखा था भेड़िया को?
बाहर का खींच लाया, एक पल्ला खुल गया, एक बंद रहा। जब भी मेरे को मंझी पर से बाहर खींच लाया, जब उसका मुंह ढीला हो गया तब हम चिल्लाई पाई।
The wolf came and pushed inside in a way, opening one side of the door and entering inside the house. So that is another concern, that wolves know that they have to target the humans and leaving the animals who are pets as well. They are targeting just the humans.
In the last 50 days, this pack of wolf has killed at least 10, including 9 children. The horror has now spread to 35 villages of Bahraich. UP Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath meanwhile asked officials to redouble bid to catch the 2 remaining wolves from the pack of 6.
एक बड़ी संख्या हमने पकड़ ली गई, उनमें से करीबन 2 भेड़िया ऐसे हैं जो संभावित हैं कि जो हो सकते हैं। वो मैं उम्मीद कर सकता हूं कि वो अभी 1-2 दिन में ही हम पकड़ लेंगे। जो कैमरे शो कर रहे हैं और जो हमारा स्टाफ बता रहा है, वो यही संभावना है। हो सकता है वो 3 भी हो, पर ज्यादा संभावना 2 होने की है।
4 wolves have already been captured. The frequent attacks in the area prompted deployment of a large number of police personnel securing nearly 100 villages. With Samarth Srivastav in Bahraich, Bureau Report, India Today.
Ironically, wolves typically tend to stay as far away from human beings as possible, very rarely tend to get into these kind of conflicts with humans. But that's what's happening right now in Bahraich, and we've got reporters on the ground who are tracking this and will continue to do so over the next few days. This is where I wrap up the NewsTrack tonight. For your time and your trust, thank you very much. Rajdeep Sardesai comes up next with News Today. Goodbye. Good night.
Motorola Razr 50 Ultra comes with Google Gemini. Motorola Razr 50 Ultra comes with Google Gemini.
Hi, I am AI anchor Sana, bringing the top headlines for you, presented by Motorola. Supreme Court grants bail to Vijay Nair in Delhi excise policy case. Enforcement Directorate arrests UP MLA Amantullah Khan in Delhi Waqf Board corruption probe. DNA sample of accused SP leader Nawab Singh matches with victim in Kannauj rape case. Samajwadi Party distances itself from the accused. weather forecast now. Delhi, maximum 34 and minimum 27 degrees. Mumbai, maximum 29 and minimum 22 degrees. Kolkata, maximum 34 and minimum 26 degrees. Bangalore, maximum 25 and minimum 21 degrees. Chennai, maximum 35 and minimum 27 degrees. Hyderabad, maximum 23 and minimum 20 degrees.
कानून अपना काम कर रहा है नहीं कर रहा, वो तो सुप्रीम कोर्ट कई बार अब टिप्पणी कर चुका है। ईडी और सीबीआई के विषय में सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने कहा है कि जिसको मन करता है उसको जेल में डालते हैं, जिसको मन करता है उसको गवाह बनाते हैं, जिसको मन कर रहा है उसको अप्रूवर बना रहे हैं, जिसको मन कर रहा है आरोपी बना रहे हैं। तो कोई कानून नहीं देख रहे हैं, सिर्फ और सिर्फ जो है केंद्र सरकार की सियासत के हिसाब से जो है लोगों के ऊपर एक्शन किया जा रहा है। और ये कोई और नहीं, देश की सबसे बड़ी अदालत कई बार ईडी के विषय में एक्साइज मामले में कह चुकी है।
उन्होंने वो पैसा जो वक्फ बोर्ड के लिए, जो समाज के जन कल्याण के लिए लगना था, उस पैसे का गमन करा, उस पैसे का मिसयूज करा। आम आदमी पार्टी की पुरानी आदत है कि वो प्रचार प्रसार और भ्रष्टाचार में लिप्त हैं, लोगों के लिए कोई काम नहीं कर रहे, अपनी जेबें भरने पे ध्यान जरूर दे रहे हैं और त्राहिमाम कर कर लोगों को भ्रमित कर रहे हैं। अमानतुल्लाह खान जी की जवाबदेही बनती है। ये रेड आज जो उनके घर पर हुई है, उनके प्रेमिसेस में हुई है, ये सिर्फ एक जायज लीगल स्टेप है।
Only 2 minutes.
मैं यहाँ तू वहाँ, मेरी जमानत को ना।
सर शुगर चेक करा लीजिए प्लीज।
जाओ तुम खुश रहो, मैं करूं क्या बयां। शुगर रहती नहीं ठीक मेरी यहाँ, वजन भी ठीक मेरा रहता कहाँ, पर जमानत मुझे मिलती ना।
सर बीपी चेक।
जितनी अर्जियां अब मैं भेजूं, पर जमानत मिलती नहीं। सारी दलीलें लगा बाहर निकला ना मैं, कोई बताए करूं और क्या। मैं यहाँ तू वहाँ।
Presented by JK Tyre, Desh Ka Tyre. Co-presented by New Seltos with Kia Connect. Tech is now badass.
Good evening, hello and welcome. You're with the news today, your primetime destination. News, newsmakers, talking points. Our big talking point
is coming from a Maharashtra MLA who has given the most abominable hate speech, inflammatory. He's now been booked. Nitesh Rane, son of the former Chief Minister, BJP leader Narayan Rane, his son Nitesh Rane has been booked. What will it take to stop the hate? Also, bulldozer justice. Is it against the Constitution? The Supreme Court is hearing that matter. We'll be talking about that too. But first, as always, it's time for the 9 headlines at 9. The Supreme Court comes down heavily on bulldozer justice, says cannot demolish homes even if a person is accused or convicted. Top court to lay down pan-India guidelines soon. Maharashtra BJP MLA Nitesh Rane, son of former Union Minister and Chief Minister Narayan Rane, booked for hate speech against the minorities. AIMIM demands his arrest. Opposition accuses BJP of commonly divisive politics in Maharashtra. Monsoon mayhem wreaks havoc in Telangana and Andhra Pradesh. Nearly 30 people are dead. Streets submerged. Rescue operations on. Chief ministers of both states now inspect the ground situation. AAP MLA Amanatullah Khan arrested by the ED in an alleged bribes for job scam. The Supreme Court grants bail to Kejriwal aide Vibhav Kumar in the Swati Maliwal assault case. Also another aide, Vijay Nair, gets bail after 23 months in the liquor scam case. Netflix series IC814 triggers a big row. Web series maker accused of concealing religious identity of Kandahar hijackers. Their content head summoned by the government tomorrow. The director says he's based the film on a true story. Sexual harassment storm in Kerala gets bigger. Congress Neta expelled after flagging sexual exploitation by senior party leaders in the state. BJP hits out, says Congress failed to protect women. Amidst opposition's caste census call, RSS says caste census can be useful but only for welfare and data, not as a tool to divide society or for electoral purposes. Popular Punjabi singer AP Dhillon's Canada home fired at. India Today accesses first video of shooting in Vancouver. Lawrence Bishnoi gang takes responsibility. Another gold for India at the Paris Paralympics. Nitesh Kumar wins gold for badminton. 2 gold medals now in India's kitty. But the story we are breaking at the very top, Kolkata rape and horror, the latest case, the latest development, the CBI has made its first arrest. RG Kar ex-principal Dr. Sandeep Ghosh has been arrested by the CBI on charges of corruption and financial irregularities during his tenure at the RG Kar hospital. Remember, he's been arrested for corruption, not for involvement as of now at least in the horrific rape and murder case that took place at the hospital. So he's been arrested on charges of corruption by the CBI. The CBI has made the first arrest. Remember, the alleged rapist is already in custody. Sanjoy Roy is there in custody and the CBI has to give a detailed report, status report to the Supreme Court on the 5th of September. Indrajit Kundu, my colleague, joins me from Kolkata. Indrajit, what details can you give us on this? What is the nature of the corruption which is the charge against Dr. Sandeep Ghosh?
Well, Rajdeep, this is very, very interesting because in the next 72 hours, the CBI will have to file a status report before the Supreme Court as to what is the investigation into the rape and murder case that they have conducted. However, in the past 2 weeks that the Central Probe Agency has taken over the case, they have not been able to make a single arrest in the rape and murder probe. This arrest, of course, coming as it is with growing public pressure. Sandeep Ghosh has been questioned by the Central Agency for straight 15 days. And it was after the 15th day that finally he is brought here to the CBI office at Nizam Palace in central Kolkata, which also houses the Anti-Corruption Bureau of the CBI, and he has been arrested on charges of corruption. So very serious charges that were leveled against him. Remember, there were multiple whistleblowers, one of them who were also on our network, Akhtar Ali, the former deputy superintendent of the hospital. He had leveled serious allegations of financial impropriety, misuse of government funds, and there are other allegations of disposal of bodies, several allegations that were leveled against him. The state government had finally formed a special investigating team under the Kolkata police to probe these allegations that were earlier submitted to the State Vigilance Department. No action was taken then, but the SIT was formed recently. However, the Kolkata High Court had, ordered that since the CBI is probing the rape and murder case, a single agency, the central agency, should also be probing into allegations of corruption. Therefore, that too was transferred by the Calcutta High Court, and since then the CBI took over the entire case. They have been questioning Sandeep Ghosh so many times over the last 14 days, multiple sessions of 10 to 12 hours each.
So, sir, Indrajit, there are two cases. One is the rape and murder case, where the CBI, as of now, has one individual, Sanjoy Roy, under custody. Apparently, there's been a DNA matching done, and it has matched with the tragic, with the victim. And you've got Sanjoy Ghosh, who, remember, was transferred to another hospital within a few hours of his being removed from RG car. So you've got Sandeep Ghosh in another corruption case. Am I correct? Therefore, there are two different cases now: the rape and murder case and the corruption case. Are there any linkages as of now?
That's right. Well, that's right. We don't know whether these two are linked, but these two are separate cases. One is the rape and murder, the heinous crime that took place on August 9th. That initially was probed by the Calcutta police. They are the ones who actually arrested the prime accused in the case, Sanjoy Ghosh, Sanjoy Roy, who is now in Presidency Jail. He's in judicial custody. The case has been handed over to the CBI. The CBI is probing the matter, and they have conducted polygraph tests on both Sandeep Ghosh and Sanjoy Roy, who is the prime accused. The CBI has not been able to make any arrest in the rape and murder probe so far. This arrest of the former principal, Sandeep Ghosh, comes in the corruption case, which is a completely separate case that the CBI has now also been entrusted with the investigation by the Calcutta High Court.
Okay.
And the CBI will submit a status report in the next 72 hours before the Supreme Court, when the matter comes up for hearing once again on September the 5th.
Okay, Indrajit Kundu, with the very latest, we'll keep tracking that story closely. The latest development there in the CBI investigation: Sandeep Ghosh, the former principal of RG Car, where that tragic rape and murder took place, has been arrested on corruption charges. Let me turn from there to what I believe is another shocker that's taken place. And in this case, hate speech. A hate speech by a BJP MLA from Maharashtra, Nitesh Rane, son of the former Union Minister and Chief Minister Narayan Rane. In what is an open incendiary threat, the MLA was caught on camera saying that he would be willing to kill Muslims and enter masjids. And it came just days after an elderly man was thrashed on a train in Maharashtra over suspicion that he was carrying beef. Remember, in a similar horrific incident over the weekend, two migrant workers were assaulted in Haryana last week, again on charges that they were consuming beef. One of them eventually died in this case of mob lynching. Tonight, I'm going to raise a big question, a question that every Indian out there must answer to his conscience or her conscience. What will it take, my friends, to end the hate wave? It's our top story tonight.
अगर कुछ भी मस्ती तुम लोगों ने किससे भी की तो तुम्हारे के अंदर आके चुन-चुन के मारेंगे, इतना ध्यान में रखो.
BJP MLA Nitesh Rane speaks out in support of Mahant Ramgiri Maharaj, who allegedly made derogatory remarks about Islam and Prophet Muhammad at a religious event. Rane, addressing public meetings on Sunday, sent out a clear threat to the minority community.
हमारे रामगिरी महाराज के खिलाफ अगर कुछ भी मस्ती तुम लोगों ने किससे भी की तो तुम्हारे के अंदर आके चुन-चुन के मारेंगे, इतना ध्यान में रखो.
The police have filed 2 FIRs against Rane, who sought to defend his remark a day later.
पुणे जिलाधिकारी कलेक्टर ऑफिस के बाहर एक मोर्चा निकाला गया और इस वो मोर्चे में रामगिरी महाराज जी को धमकाया गया और सर तन से जुदा इस तरीके की घोषणाएं दी गई। अगर आप हमको सर तन से जुदा की घोषणाएं देंगे कि पहले हम भी एक हिंदू है और हम भी उसी तरीके का एक्शन टू रिएक्शन देंगे।
Rane's hate speech comes days after an elderly man was assaulted on a train over suspicion of possessing beef. The video of the suspects targeting the 71-year-old has gone viral. The three suspects who were arrested for the attack were incidentally going to appear for a police recruitment test. The victim later appealed for peace.
हिंदुस्तान की कोर्ट पे मुझे विश्वास है, मुझे इंसाफ मिलेगा। मेरे साथ में ऐसा जो भी हुआ ऐसा किसी भाई के साथ में ना हो, मुझे इंसाफ जरूर मिलेगा।
Last week, a rag picker from Bengal, Sabir Malik, and his associates were brutally beaten up in Charkhi Dadri in Haryana over suspicion of beef consumption. Malik succumbed to his injuries. The same day, a mob allegedly abducted another man over the same suspicion. He was rescued by the police.
इस मामले में हमने 7 एक्यूज्ड को अरेस्ट कर लिया है, जिसमें से हमने 4 को पुलिस रिमांड पर लिया हुआ है। उन पुलिस रिमांड पर उन्होंने बताया कि इसमें एक और शामिल था, उसको भी हमने कल अरेस्ट कर लिया है, मोहित, जो बिरी कला का रहने वाला है।
कानून है ना, हमने कानून बनाया। आप जाइए थाने में और पुलिस सरकार कार्रवाई करेगी। आप खुद मत करिए ये मॉब लिंचिंग वगैरह, ये आज के युग में ठीक बातें नहीं है।
Leader of opposition Rahul Gandhi, citing the 2 attacks in Maharashtra and Haryana, has accused the BJP government of giving a free hand to anti-social elements. The Congress MP who had embarked on the Bharat Jodo Yatra claimed his fight against hate will go on. The series of hate speech incidents and attacks have continued despite repeated warnings by the Supreme Court to state governments. Bureau Report, India Today.
Horrific scenes, unacceptable what we've just seen over the last few days. Meanwhile, bulldozer justice today reached the Supreme Court's door. The apex court coming down heavily against this method of justice, saying a person's house cannot be taken down just because he may have been arrested or even convicted in a case. The Supreme Court bench maintained that it's only when a structure is illegal that it should be demolished. The Supreme Court is saying it will lay down guidelines for what constitutes bulldozer justice for some. Kanu Sharda has more from the court.
The Supreme Court on Monday said properties can't be demolished just because they belong to a person accused of a crime. The court observed that the property can't even be demolished if a person has been convicted. Hearing a batch of pleas against bulldozer action often undertaken by authorities against the houses of those accused of crimes, the court said that the properties can't be demolished even if the person is convicted. The Supreme Court, however, clarified that it will not protect any illegal structure obstructing public roads. Solicitor General Tushar Mehta also clarified that the state's stand is clear from its affidavit, which stated that merely because a person is alleged to be a part of an offence, it can't be a ground for demolition. He further clarified that in the cases mentioned in the petition filed against the UP government, notices for violations were sent to the person, and since they did not respond, the unauthorized constructions were demolished, following the due process mentioned in the municipal laws. However, this was refuted by senior advocate C.U. Singh, who cited a case from Udaipur where a person's house was demolished because the tenant's son was accused of a crime. The top court said that it will pass detailed guidelines on this aspect on September 17th. With camera person Ashok Bhanot from New Delhi, this is Kanu Sarda for India Today.
So let's raise some big questions and troubling questions tonight. What will it first take to stop the hate speeches, the mob lynching? Is law not enough to curb these acts of hate, particularly against minorities? Why do people seem to get away with these attacks on minorities? And the bulldozer justice, is it simply anti-constitution what's going on? I'm joined by three very special guests, all distinguished. Najib Jung is former Delhi Lieutenant Governor. Dushyant Dave is Senior Advocate Supreme Court. He appeared today in the bulldozer justice case. And P.K. Jain is former ADG Maharashtra. I'm going to come to each of you to get your sense of how you see what we are seeing in this country from time to time, mob lynching, hate speeches, particularly against minorities. Najib Jung, why don't you tell us what your first reactions is to what you've seen?
Rajiv, I can't hear you.
Okay, I'll try and come back to you in a moment to try and ensure. Dushyant Dave, why don't you take the floor first then?
Well, so far as the hate speeches are concerned, I mean, and the demolition by using bulldozers are concerned, these are all, acts against minority community. And we have been seeing, at least since 2014, that these incidents have increased exponentially, simply because the executive, the police particularly, is more often than not party to it. And it is acting at the instance of the party in power at the center or in the state, which are BJP states. Unfortunately, nobody, in the government, in the police, really thinks that these kind of incidents must be stopped. I mean, we have seen, a former minister making a very serious statement in Delhi when the, CAA protests were going on, saying Gaddaro ko goli se maro, and no action was taken. I mean, if it was done by any...
Sir, just a fact check. The minister you were talking about, Anurag Thakur, he said, Desh ke Gaddaro ko, and the audience then shouts, goli maro salo ko.
I mean, it was all orchestrated. Okay. But anyway, the whole thing is that this kind of approach, this kind of an atmosphere, unfortunately, is not in consonance with the Constitution. One of the most important part of our Constitution, the preamble, talks about fraternity. And fraternity is so important because that's what Ambedkar stressed at a great length in his Constituent Assembly debates. We have to have fraternity. With about 150 million Muslims in this country, it would be well nigh impossible for us to really, continue to behave the way we are doing in last about 10 years. And this, particularly this aspect of, demolition of homes is a medieval, punishment, which is not even provided in the Indian Penal Code, or for that matter, even in the new, law that Shri Amit Shah ji has brought, the new IPCs, whatever they call it. So I feel that it is not right because these are all cases which essentially 99% cases are relating to the Muslims who, for one reason or the other are being targeted. Somebody has fallen in love and has gone away with a Hindu girl, so they go to his house and demolish it. Somebody is alleged to have spat on a Ram Navami procession, so his house is, attacked. And so in Delhi, for example, in Jahangirpuri, the police stopped VHP and Bajrang Dal from carrying out the procession, and they lodged an FIR against them, despite their, saying no. They carried out. Some, incident took place, and next day, the BJP president writes a letter, official letter, to the mayor of New Delhi, North Delhi Municipal Corporation and the police that be ready, tomorrow you must start demolition. And the demolition starts when I mentioned it to Chief Justice Ramna's court. And I must say, with a great, sense of pride and satisfaction that Chief Justice Ramna acted immediately, although even a petition was not filed at that point of time. And he granted a status quo. Now, these incidents, unfortunately, are completely contrary to Article 21, which is right to life, which includes right to shelter, and also Article 20, which says nobody can be given punishment which is not provided by law. Right. Now, punishment of demolition of house can never be provided because it has nothing to do with the alleged accused. It has to do with the family. You are therefore now targeting the whole family and punishing the whole family. This does not augur well for a democracy as liberal as we claim to be. I mean, we have a beautiful history of 5,000 years of a liberal approach in this country. And this kind of a thing, I may say, is perhaps the saddest commentary on this government. Prime Minister talks about Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas. Yet, he has not been able to stop this. He has not said once that these demolitions must stop. And openly openly the BJP governments are encouraging these demolitions. Their MLAs, elected representatives, are standing most times or many times when demolitions take place, and police acts only as per their specific directions.
Can I just stop you? Can I just stop you? You've raised several issues. You've both focused on the hate speech as well as on what is being described as bulldozer justice, and you are rightly pointing out it is fundamentally against the Constitution. You've also referred to the police, and at that time I want to bring you in, Mr. P.K. Jain. You've been a former DG of police in Maharashtra. We've seen the kind of hate speech that a sitting MLA has put today. Yes, he's been charged, FIRs have been filed, but we don't know whether he will be actually prosecuted and arrested. Who knows, he'll get a ticket and contest the elections and win. Dushyant Dave says the police has a big role, whether it's in bulldozer justice, where they short-circuit processes, or whether they act selectively in hate speeches. The police has much to answer for. Your response, sir.
Namaskar, Rajdeep. Thank you very much. I have heard Mr. Dave in detail. The fact remains that it is always action and reaction. You know, on a very innocuous kind of a debate on the TV, if a lady like Nupur Sharma can be doled out threats of Sar Tan Se Juda, and then massive processions are taken out all over the country, again saying the same naras, it creates a lot of reaction in the other communities also. Unfortunately, the communal passion is being fueled not only by one particular community, by certain insane elements from all the communities. And that is what results into, the responsible people and the public representatives also taking that kind of a line.
No, but sir, the public with due regard, sir, the public representatives take an oath on the constitution of this country. My point is, Mr. Nitesh Rane has taken whether it is Nitesh Rane or anyone, Hindu, Muslim, no. Look at what has happened. Omar Khalid has spent 4 years in jail without even a trial yet, no bail, for an alleged hate speech. And Nitesh Rane will probably contest the next election. Where is the even-handedness, sir? That's my point. Where is the police? Is the police simply acting on directions of its political masters?
See, the police can act on the directions of the political masters for 24 hours. After that, the courts take over. It is the court which has to keep an accused in the jail or bail him out. So if the court takes a view that a person has to stay behind the bars for 4 years, so be it. The police has no role in this. The police will, in their own wisdom, they will keep opposing the petitions for bail. But it is for the courts to decide whether a person should remain there or not. That is one. Secondly, the similar speeches were given by the Owaisi brothers. What action was taken? Were they arrested? They were not arrested. So for the high and mighty in this country, if you think that arrest and subsequent prosecution takes place, it is a myth. I always keep saying that a person who has got the resources or the clout, he can never be punished. It is very difficult to punish him. They can go from one court to another and right up to the Supreme Court, they got the wherewithal to fight it. So the justice is never given.
Sir, with due regard, you're telling me a police officer cannot stop the high and mighty from getting away. Is that what you're telling me, that a Nitesh Rane has that much clout that he can get away?
It is not a question of Nitesh Rane, Rajdeep. Please understand, the police has filed a case. They will prosecute him. They will charge sheet the case. After charge sheet, the case is taken over by the public prosecutors. And who appoints the public prosecutors? The government. And then the courts.
Okay.
So it is a very long fight for justice, and for a person to get convicted, it's a very, very long fight. What I'm trying to say is that the system unfortunately is weighed in a manner that a person who has got the resources will keep fighting in the courts, right from the lower court to the highest court.
I take your point. And I'm going to ask my producer not to show those close-ups of that man being lynched. They are unacceptable, and they will only in some way, perhaps for some, inflame passions further. Najib Jung, your response. You've been a former senior IAS officer, former LG of Delhi. You've been raising these issues from time to time. Your reaction to what we are seeing around us happening when it comes to hate speech and bulldozer justice?
Rajdeep, number one, I am really sorry to be hearing what Mr. Jain has been saying and defending the police. It is really unfortunate that the highest echelons of the police are indeed having such a warped process of thinking. That's one. Now, coming back to what's happening, I think that the political leaders in this country, which includes the chief ministers, have forgotten their oath to the constitution. The Honorable Chief Minister of Assam, on a daily basis, violates the constitution. He can call out a journalist because his name is Muslim. He can call out a university which is not even in Assam and blame it for the floods in Guwahati. Now, obviously, something is seriously wrong because they can get away with such nonsense. So when the leaders, and I could not hear very well because the audio was not so good, but when you hear, we had in the 2020 riots, a leader of the BJP standing next to the DCP and giving the protesters 20 minutes to clear out. We've had an honorable minister, and you quoted him saying, Goli Maro. We've had an honorable MP within the precincts of parliament using language which you and I cannot utter in our drawing rooms. We've had another MP from Delhi using language which is abhorrent. So therefore, because you can get away with whatever Mr. Jain may say, because you get away with it repeatedly, and the signal comes from the top. The speeches we have heard during the parliament elections give, shall I say, a license to the foot soldiers to speak the way they do. And we've been seeing it, the advantage. You tried this with the Sikh community, they call them Khalistanis, and now the thing is turned to Muslims.
How do you respond? If I may ask, how do you respond though? There'll be those who will say, what if a Muslim mob on the street says, Sartan se juda? This is what Nitesh Rane is saying. I am reacting to such statements. There almost seems to be an equivalence which is being attempted to be drawn. How would you respond?
I entirely agree with you. I entirely agree with you that all lawless elements have to be put down very, very ruthlessly.
Absolutely.
No religious community, no religious community is away from this nonsense. Having said that, the Muslims, of course, are getting the worst of the stick at the moment, but they cannot be absolved. They absolutely cannot be absolved of behaving in irresponsible manner. I mean, I live in Old Delhi and I know the misbehavior that these young Muslim youths can cause, riding their motorcycles, or in Delhi on the evening of Shab Barat, when you see these motorcyclists misbehaving on the streets of Delhi. Of course, we know it. And it must be brought down very, very strongly. But that doesn't take away the substance of your debate this evening. And what Mr. Dave has been saying, it does not take away the substance that things have gone on beyond the point of, shall I say, tolerance. The worm will turn, and we do not wish that to happen.
So you're in a sense saying there's a sense that people seem to have an impunity, a license to get away with it. I just want to put some figures and then get you in, Mr. Dave. Hate on the rise. Hate speech cases are up from 993 in 2021 to now 1,444 in 22. And this is only as per an NCRB report of reported cases. 668 documented hate speech events against Muslims in 2023 alone, as per the India Hate Lab. 75% of these hate speeches took place in BJP-ruled states and UTs, 25% in opposition-ruled states. 36% hate speech events included a direct call of violence against Muslims, again, source being the India Hate Lab, and 25% hate speech events called for targeting Muslim places of worship, and that's exactly what Nitesh Rane also did. Has hate got normalized, Dushyant Dave? There will be those watching this program and may even have the attitude that, look, people have a right to vent. It seems it's got normalized, that this has become part of normal conversation. What was once seen as unacceptable has got normalized in the last decade. That's what critics say.
Rajdeep, before I answer that, let me read what Dr. Ambedkar had to say on 17th of December 1946 in his first statement before the Constituent Assembly when Constitution was being drafted. And he said this, which is really, it's a dire warning to us today. He said, I must confess that I am appalled at the idea that anybody in this country should think of solving the political problems of this country by the method of war. Then he says, if there is anybody who has in his mind the project of solving Hindu-Muslim problem by force, which is another name of solving it by war, in order that Muslims may be subjugated and made to surrender without their consent, this country would be involved perpetually in conquering them. Now, these are the words of Dr. Ambedkar on 17th, December 1946. Prime Minister and every leader of BJP constantly, speak about their reverence for Dr. Ambedkar. Why is it that they don't read Dr. Ambedkar? What did he want? What did he really feel?
May I ask you, Mr. Dave, what about the courts? Today there was an observation by Justice Gawai in the bulldozer justice case that even if someone is accused or convicted, you don't have the right to bulldoze his house without following due process. Why has the court not stopped it until now? I mean, we are in 2024. These bulldozers have been demolishing houses for the last 5 years. The hate speech has carried on and spiraled out of control in the last decade. Why does the court not act?
I must say that I am deeply disappointed with the Supreme Court because, and I have said so more often than not, I mean, if Supreme Court can take suo motu cognizance in an isolated rape and murder case of West Bengal and add fuel to the fire, by that suo motu action, they should have long acted upon these demolitions. I mean, judges after judges have known. It was for the first time that, we moved the Supreme Court when, this Jahangirpuri incident took place before Justice Ramna. That was in 2022. We are in 2024. And for last 2 years, the matter had not even seen the light of the day. It was only when I mentioned it last week again before Honorable Justice Gawai. And I must say that Justices Gawai and Justice Vishwanathan have really taken it very seriously upon themselves to hear and resolve this issue. So, and the guidelines that they are proposing, like the Vishaka case, is something which will perhaps go a long way to resolving this issue. But I must confess, and I do agree with Mr. Jain, that the courts are also responsible. If the police is failing, the courts are certainly failing in not acting, in these kind of incidents immediately.
No, why? Why? Is it the law? No, what explains the unwillingness of the court to act? The law is straight. You've quoted Ambedkar for me. I can quote chapter and verse of what the law of the constitution of the country says. You cannot incite hate between communities is a well-known fact. Why does the court simply not throw the law book evenly at all?
The hate speech speeches are clearly actionable, and they are liable, to be people are liable to be prosecuted. But yes, even if when the police brings the case, you see, more often than not, the police does not bring the case before the court because of the political pressures. And as Mr. Jain said, rich and the powerful get away, and the powerful includes the politicians.
No, you see, sir, I can understand the rich and powerful. I will turn to what happened in the train incident in Dhule with an old man. Think about it. I want to play that visual because it is shocking. These were young people going for a police exam in Mumbai. What do? First, a fight over the seat, and then accuse the old man of carrying beef in his with him and start assaulting him. I mean, Najib Jung, you raised your hand. You see, it's one thing for the rich and powerful to get away. They'll get away in all cases. But I find ordinary people get away because they seem to believe they have the right, the impunity to get away, Mr. Jung.
One
by one. Let Mr. Jung come. Yes,
I raised my hand on the issue of courts. Look, the courts is one thing. The problem lies in the district administration. The problem lies with the SHOs. The problem lies with the collectors and the SPs and the DGPs who are heavily communalized today in this country. The divide is so deep. If you go into these WhatsApp groups of the IPS and the IAS officers, you will be ashamed. And unfortunately, that filth has not gone only into the civil services, it is also getting and penetrating into the armed forces. And this is the scheme of the last 10 years. So please wake up. It's just not the courts. The courts are 30 judges or 35 judges sitting. They can't do that on an everyday basis. The basic thing lies in the local thana.
No, you're saying that, sir, you're saying that, remember, you have been among the prominent Muslims who reached out to the RSS. Presumably, these were issues you raised with them as well. the fear that certain Hindutva groups could spiral out of control at times. What was the response at that time?
Oh, well, we have met and we are in touch with the Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh. In fact, we are in touch with the highest echelons, and we are repeatedly assured that they do not want this to be happening. We are repeatedly assured that this dialogue with them will continue. We must expand this dialogue, and it takes time for things to be sorted out. As far as I go, I have no doubts to believe that their intentions are kosher, but they request for time. The problem is not with the RSS today. The problem is that the foot soldiers are completely out of control. And
you're saying the problem is with the foot soldiers who are out of control. PK Jain, in that intervention by Najib Jung, he made an important point that the system has got communalized, that there are officers, be they collectors, be they senior police officers who've got communalized. So if people who are supposed to be the guardians, protectors, they get communalized, naturally people on the street believe that they have a license then. Is that a fear you have or not?
Rajdeep, I'm sorry, I would not believe in this kind of a generalization. Yes, individuals do get influenced by whatever is happening around them. They do get influenced by the social media and whatever they are reading. There's a lot of poison being spread in the social media and around us, but that does not affect everybody in the discharge of their duties. I can tell you one thing, I can dare speak about Maharashtra. See, any officer, if he has a law and order situation at hand, I have seen most of them acting very, very professionally. There's no reason and there's no way that they would be acting in favor of a particular community. So I would not agree with Mr. Jung about this. But yes, individually, there is a polarization of some thoughts, and that is happening everywhere. I can cite similar examples in the case of in the case of all the communities. It is not only one community, it is all the communities are getting affected.
Whether it is from any community, secondly, has to be condemned.
One more thing.
Yes, please go ahead.
Mr. Jung made a mention about the CM of Assam pointing out to a particular, calling out a reporter of a religious community. See what Mr. Rahul Gandhi has been doing. He's been calling out the names of every jati, in his entire Bharat Jodo Yatra. कौन सी जाति को हो, क्या करते हो, इसलिए तुम इस तरह के क्वेश्चन पूछ रहे हो. See, this rot is universal, and unfortunately, unless we start acting at the nick of the time, now is the time to act. Unfortunately, if this action is not taken, the things are going to go down very, very fast.
Okay, so I will give each of you 20 seconds each to tell me how would you act. Mob lynchers in Haryana, FIR filed, few people arrested. Nitesh Rane still is out there unapologetic. How would you act? Dushyant Dave, what would you do? How would you send? What is the exemplary punishment very quickly in a case like this?
Look, Rajdeep, nothing can be done today because I think these are instruments of state policy. And, the foot soldiers are only used by these powerful politicians who are constantly wanting to polarize the nation.
So you're saying there's no solution?
No, there can't be a solution if man at the topmost, at the highest level is not willing to speak one word about it, publicly chide his chief ministers, publicly tell his police officers that you stop this nonsense. How will the message go?
Okay.
It can't go by some
So you're saying the man at the top has to send a powerful signal. Najib Jung, 20 seconds, what would you do? What's the way forward?
I would do what Sardar Patel told the superintendent of police in Delhi in 1947, if the riot doesn't stop, I'll sack you. The SP of any district that such an incident occurs should be sacked immediately. Okay. The collector should be sent on leave. And the next time it happens in the same state, the chief minister should be asked to leave.
Okay.
That is the way to go.
Okay. Mr. BK Jain, what's the solution, sir?
I would agree with Mr. Jung. The law and order is the joint responsibility of the DM and the SP. If the action is not taken, if they are found wanting in that action, right from the Thana to the SP and the DM, right from the Tehsildar to the DM, everybody should be taken to task, suspension, dismissal, whatever come what may.
Okay.
Strict action. Unless if the administration wants, I can assure you, Rajdeep, nothing happens in a particular area.
I take your point, and I will tell you what my late grandfather, who was a distinguished police officer, Mr. Dave knows him well, he was in Gujarat. He said no riot takes place in this country without either the complicity or incompetence or both of those in office. And therefore, whether it is any administrative officer or any politician who is found wanting in his constitutional duty and allows people to get away with what Nitish Rane has got away with, or with the mob lynchers of Haryana have got away with, or with those people who are on a train and attacked an old man. Unacceptable in a country like this. Is this the India we want? We tell Bangladesh and we lecture Bangladesh, and we need to get our act together, my friends. That's the least that we can expect from those in power at whatever level, in whichever state and whichever party they belong to. Wake up, India, before it is too late. Stop the hate. Stop normalizing hate is all we can say. I thank my guests for joining me and adding much more value to this debate. Let me tell you a quick update. The Congress today has launched a new attack on SEBI chairperson Madhavi Puri Butch. The party spokesperson Bhavan Kheda accused Butch of receiving payments and ESOPs from ICICI Bank and ICICI Prudential even after joining SEBI. The banking giant has denied the charge. Listen in to what Congress leader Bhavan Kheda claimed and the ICICI Bank response.
टोटल बैंक से इस दौरान वो ले चुकी हैं 12,63,47,239 रुपए और आईसीआईसीआई प्रूडेंशियल से ले चुकी हैं 22,41,169 रुपए। ईसॉप ले चुकी हैं 2,84,12,918 रुपए और टीडीएस 1,10,20,817 इन पर आईसीआईसीआई ने दिया। तो कुल मिलाकर ये इस दौरान आईसीआईसीआई से 16,80,22,143 रुपए ले चुकी हैं। तनख्वाह सेबी की आप पूछेंगे इस दौरान कितनी हुई, तो 3,30,28,246।
Meanwhile, ICICI has issued a strong denial to the allegations made by the Congress. The company said no salary has been paid or ESOPs granted to Madhavi Puri Butch after retirement in 2013. The ICICI Bank says retirement benefits, bonus and ESOPs granted to Butch were as per policies. The ESOPs, according to the bank, vest over the next few years from the date of allotment. ESOPs can be liquidated up to 10 years from the date of vesting. The stock price difference is a perquisite income and reflected in Form 16. The bank is required to deduct the perquisite tax of this income. Form 16 covers payments towards retirement benefits of all employees. Let me turn to our other big story tonight, because monsoon fury. We are already in September, but the monsoons continue to wreak havoc. After Gujarat last week, today we are seeing torrential rainfall in the twin states of Andhra Pradesh and Telangana. Rescue and relief operations were underway in full swing, with both chief ministers taking stock of the ground situation. That's Chandrababu Naidu and Revant Reddy. The centre has offered full assistance to both states to combat any further loss of life. Now, while this is happening today, as you can see in Andhra and Telangana, and our thoughts and prayers are with the people of these two states. Last week it was in Gujarat. And anger now is mounting, especially in parts of Gujarat like Vadodara. Residents today express frustration over a lack of aid and say they are struggling to recover from the flooding. With warnings of more heavy rainfall in Gujarat, there is concern that cities like Vadodara's preparedness will be put to test. It's our ground report.
Anger in Vadodara.
Really upset of that जिस तरह से व्यवहार जो किया ना, we are not happy with them.
The Gujarat city, hit by flash floods last week, is seething. Citizens say they were left to fend for themselves. Vadodara was hit by a deluge due to torrential rain in the state. While the floodwaters have receded, the aftermath is devastating. Citizens have incurred massive financial loss. Vehicles damaged. Household items broken beyond repair.
हम 2-3 टीचर वहाँ पहुँच भी गए थे। अब वहाँ पहुँचने पे भी हमें राहत तो वहाँ पे भी नहीं मिली, क्योंकि वहाँ पर हमारे पास ना तो पीने के लिए पानी था, ना ही खाना था। तो रात भर हम भूखे रहे। हम मदद के लिए कितनी जगह फ़ोन, शायद हमने ऐसा कोई जगह छोड़ी ही नहीं जहाँ हमने फ़ोन नहीं किया हो। आप हमें रेस्क्यू नहीं कर सकते, एटलीस्ट हमें खाना तो पहुँचा दो, पर हमें उस तरह से कोई मदद नहीं मिली उस समय तक।
Normalcy is distant for these citizens piecing their life back together.
रही बात सर हमारी सहायता की बात, हमने ऐसा कोई डिपार्टमेंट छोड़ा नहीं जिसमें हमने कॉल नहीं किया, और हम ये भी एक्सेप्ट कर रहे हैं, हमारे पास भी रिटर्न कॉल भी आया है, लेकिन वो यही बोलते रहे हैं आप चिंता मत करो आएगी हेल्प टीम, चिंता मत करो आएगी हेल्प टीम। सर दोपहर 2 बजे से और पूरा शाम पूरी रात रहे, हेल्प टीम एक बार हमारे आंखों के सामने से निकली 3 बार, हमने ये चिल्ला रहे आवाज़ दे रहे हैं, लेकिन सर वो रुके नहीं।
The Met Department has warned of heavy rainfall in September for North India. As Gujarat reels from the aftermath of August rain fury, is it prepared to face an expected monsoon mayhem this month? Bureau Report, India Today.
Thoughts and prayers there with the people of Gujarat. Now, we are being told that the monsoon could get even worse even in the month of September this year. August has already seen among the heaviest rainfall in the country. What lies ahead? Mahesh Palawat, Vice President Meteorology and Climate Change at SkyMet Weather Services, joins us. Mahesh, we are in the first week of September. We've already had August with one of the heaviest rainfalls in decades. Are we expecting similar flooding in different parts? Today it's Telangana, Andhra Pradesh. Last week it was Gujarat. Hello? Mahesh?
Sorry, light has gone. That's why I think...
But you can go ahead and speak.
Yes. Can you repeat the question, please?
My question is, are we expecting even heavier rainfall now in the next few weeks across India? We've seen Andhra Pradesh, Telangana today, last week Gujarat. Is September also going to see massive rainfall?
Yes, Rajiv, because a low pressure area has already developed and it is heading towards Gujarat and Rajasthan and western parts of Madhya Pradesh. So we think that for next 3 to 4 days, there will be moderate to heavy with isolated very heavy rain over western districts of Madhya Pradesh, East Rajasthan, and again over many parts of Gujarat, like Banaskantha, Sabarkantha, Mahesana, Patan, Ahmedabad, Vadodara, Gandhinagar, Surat, Valsad, these areas. And another low pressure area is developing over Bay of Bengal, which will again move in westerly direction across Andhra Pradesh. So Vijayawada, Visakhapatnam, Srikakulam, and parts of Telangana as well as parts of Vidarbha may get heavy to very heavy rain in next few days. So we
are seeing though, Mahesh, this year very, very severe bouts in different parts of the country. In 24 hours, some parts of the country have got rainfall more than they get over 6 weeks to 8 weeks. Is this part of this new pattern, that very intensive rainfall over a very short period?
Yes, Rajdeep, because now due to climate change and global warming, the increase in greenhouse gases, air temperature is rising. And due to rise in air temperature, vertically developed clouds are developing and they are capable of giving heavy to very heavy downpour in a span of say 2 to 3 hours, 3 to 4 hours, which usually occurs in a span of 3 to 4 days. So this type of inclement weather is on rise. And it will continue to, we can say, heavy to very heavy showers and cloudburst, landslide, mudslide will continue in coming weeks also. But by 15th of September, the monsoon will start withdrawing. So this will be, because next 10 days seems to be very crucial for Telangana, Andhra Pradesh, Gujarat, eastern parts of Rajasthan, as well as parts of Madhya Pradesh.
So you're saying next 10 days crucial for Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, as well as Gujarat. Those are warning signals being given by Mahesh of SkyMed. I appreciate you joining us. I hope you get the light back sooner rather than later in your house. Power cuts also part of the problem. As I said, our thoughts and prayers with the people of the flood-affected states as always. Let's take a break. When we return, we'll come to something brighter and happier. India gets another gold at the Paris Paralympics. Nitesh Kumar wins gold for badminton. We'll tell you his story on the other side. You're watching the news today. News without the noise. India's #1 primetime show.
एक दोस्त है जिससे बात किए बिना हम रह नहीं सकते।
बातें घंटों की हों या कुछ सेकंड्स की, कुछ बातें दूर से हो जाती हैं और कुछ नजदीक आके। दोस्त से बात करो जब दिल घबराए या जब दिल धूम मचाए। ये दोस्त हमेशा हमारी बात सुनता है, सोमवार हो या रविवार हो या कोई त्योहार हो, क्योंकि हमारा सबसे अच्छा दोस्त भगवान ही तो है। मंगल दी, दिल से करो बात भगवान के साथ।
Motorola Razr 50 Ultra comes with Google Gemini.
Hi, I am AI anchor Sana, bringing the top headlines for you, presented by Motorola. Supreme Court grants bail to Vijay Nair in Delhi excise policy case. Enforcement Directorate arrests up MLA Amantullah Khan in Delhi Waqf Board corruption probe. DNA sample of accused SP leader Nawab Singh matches with victim in Kannauj rape case. Samajwadi Party distances itself from the accused.
Welcome back. Let's turn to Get Real India, and it's the story of the wolves or the bhediyas once again. A 2-year-old girl has been killed, 3 others injured as wolves continue to terrorize Uttar Pradesh's Bharej. The latest attacks took place despite officials from the forest department patrolling the area. The hunt is still on for 2 wolves who are still on the loose.
पैर से विकलांग है, सही 2 हैं, इधर की तरफ 2 आए हैं। देखा है, बहुत करीब से देखा है।
Man-eater wolves continue to unleash terror in Uttar Pradesh. A 3-year-old child was killed in a wolf attack on Monday while a woman sustained injuries in wolf-infested Bharej. The toddler was killed in forested Hardi area while she was sleeping outside her house with her mother. A wolf snatched the child by grabbing her by the neck.
You can clearly see a lot of villagers present here as you see the visuals as they have assembled right here, encircled this particular house. So that could be the sense, what's the atmosphere inside this particular house where the scathing attack happened on a 3-year-old girl.
3 बताल में हमरे बच्चे को उठा लिया।
ये आता है तो आप जग रही होती, सो रही होती?
सो गए रहने वाले।
तो आप आवाज सुनती हैं बच्ची की?
आवाज ना आए, बच्चे की आवाज ना आए पावा।
बच्ची की आवाज नहीं आती?
बच्चे की आवाज ना आए पाए, साहब बच्चे की आवाज जा पाए हुई तो उठ पड़े। घाटी दाब दे समरे बच्चे की आवाज ना आए पावा।
In another attack, 70-year-old Kamla Devi was injured when a wolf entered her house and attacked her on Monday morning. She escaped with grievous injuries.
भेड़िया चबा लिया मेरी नट्टी।
आपने देखा था भेड़िया को?
बाहर का खींच लाया, एक पल्ला खुल गया, एक बंद रहा। जब भी मेरे को मंझी पर से बाहर खींच लाया, जब उसका मुंह ढीला हो गया तब हम चिल्लाई पाई।
The wolf came and pushed inside, in a way opening one side of the door and entering inside the house. So that is another concern, that wolves know that they have to target the humans and leaving the animals who are pets as well. They are targeting just the humans.
In the last 50 days, this pack of wolf has killed at least 10, including 9 children. The horror has now spread to 35 villages of Bharej. UP Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath meanwhile asked officials to redouble bid to catch the 2 remaining wolves from the pack of 6.
एक बड़ी संख्या हमने पकड़ ली गई
उनमें से करीबन 2 भेड़िया ऐसे हैं जो संभावित है कि जो हो सकते हैं। वो मैं उम्मीद कर सकता हूं कि वो अभी 1-2 दिन में ही हम पकड़ लेंगे। जो कैमरे शो कर रहे हैं और जो हमारा स्टाफ बता रहा है वो यही संभावना है। हो सकता है वो 3 भी हो, पर ज्यादा संभावना 2 होने की है।
4 wolves have already been captured. The frequent attacks in the area prompted deployment of a large number of police personnel securing nearly 100 villages. With Samarth Srivastav in Bahraich, Bureau Report, India Today.
Let's turn from there to our good news today story, and it comes from the Paris Paralympics. I want to end the show today by telling you about India's latest gold medal hero, because India's medal tally has improved to 11, courtesy the badminton players, with Nitesh Kumar securing India's 2nd gold. Here's his story, and we celebrate our Paralympians and wish them all the best. Thanks for watching. Stay well, stay safe. Good night, Shubhratri, Jai Hind, Namaskar. Stop hate is my message tonight. Bye for now.
A maiden Paralympics appearance for the 29-year-old Nitesh Kumar, and he gets his hands on the biggest prize. In the gold medal match against Great Britain's Daniel Bethel, he displayed profound grit to emerge victorious 21-14, 18-21, 23-21. Nitesh isn't just a genius on the court. He also happens to be a graduate from the prestigious IIT Mandi, the place where he discovered his passion for badminton. His fellow shuttlers Tulsimati Murugesan and Manisha Ramdas also secured podium finishes, with Tulsimati getting a silver and Manisha bagging a bronze. Earlier in the day, India's Yogesh Kathunia won silver in the men's discus throw F56 event to become a double medalist at the Paralympics. He had won a silver 3 years back in Tokyo as well. India's medal tally has risen to 11, and the para-athletes are doing their best to keep the Indian flag flying high in
हमको ये स्टेटमेंट क्यों देनी पड़ी, इस बारे में थोड़ा सोचना चाहिए, थोड़ी मालूमात लेनी चाहिए। जब से हमारे महंत रामगिरी महाराज जी ने एक स्टेटमेंट दी है, उसके बाद जो जो व्यक्ति ने उस स्टेटमेंट का समर्थन किया है, जो जो व्यक्ति ने उनके स्टेटमेंट का व्हाट्सएप स्टेटस रखा है, उनके घर पे जाके उनको मार डालने की धमकी दी जा रही है। पूना में पिछले हफ्ते पूना जिलाधिकारी कलेक्टर ऑफिस के बाहर एक मोर्चा निकाला गया, और वो मोर्चे में रामगिरी महाराज जी को धमकाया गया और सर तन से जुदा इस तरीके की घोषणाएं दी गई। तो मतलब हमारे महाराष्ट्र का हिंदू समाज जो जो रामगिरी महाराज को समर्थन करेगा, उसको आप मार डालोगे क्या, उसका सर तन से जुदा करोगे क्या?
Weather forecast now. Delhi, maximum 34 and minimum 27 degrees. Mumbai, maximum 29 and minimum 22 degrees. Kolkata, maximum 34 and minimum 26 degrees. Bangalore, maximum 25 and minimum 21 degrees. Chennai, maximum 35 and minimum 27 degrees. Hyderabad, maximum 23 and minimum 20 degrees.
Make your media plan smarter with India Today Live TV on your connected devices. Amplify your brand with 100 million smart internet viewers. To advertise, mail us at sales@aajtak.com.
Co-presented by New Seltos with Kia Connect. Tech is now badass. Co-powered by Eternally Remembered, Honored, Loved with Love Kalyan Jewelers. Veka, India's largest selling UPVC window.
Series IC-814 sparks massive controversy.
Good evening, this is your captain speaking. I regret to inform you that ये plane hijack हो चुका है.
Row erupts over hijackers' Hindu call signs.
क्या ज्यादा इम्पोर्टेंट है, हिस्ट्री जो बाद में पढ़ी जाएगी या हमारे लोग जो IC-814 में फंसे हैं?
Hijackers used Bola and Shankar as call signs.
मुझ पे भरोसा करें, मैं पूरी कोशिश कर रहा हूं कि हम जल्द से जल्द अपने घर पहुंच सकें.
Netflix accused of distorting facts.
लोगों को सिर्फ ये याद रहेगा कि इस गवर्नमेंट ने इतने मिलिटेंट्स को छोड़ा.
जान लेने से पहले 1000 बार सोचना, लेकिन जान बचाने से पहले एक बार भी नहीं.
Center seeks clarification from Netflix. Row over IC-814.
IC-814, the Kandahar Hijack series on OTT platform Netflix, has sparked off a massive controversy soon after its release. Filmmaker Anubhav Sinha's new web series faces huge criticism on multiple fronts. One, the use of Hindu names for Pakistani Muslim hijackers, which actually was used at the time of hijacking by Pakistani terrorists in 1999 to hide their identities. In the series, the hijackers are referred to as Chief, Dr., Burger, Bhola and Shankar, the names which were actually used by the hijackers at that time. But BJP's IT cell head and co-in charge of Bengal, Amit Malviya, has alleged that the act of giving Hindu names to Pakistani Muslim terrorists depicts the left-wing's agenda to whitewash the crimes of Pakistani terrorists. And there are a number of people who say that this Netflix series is actually a PR job for Pakistan's notorious spy agency, the ISI.
I don't want to second guess what the government of India and the Ministry of INB is investigating. It is not my place to do so. But certainly as a citizen, as somebody who saw the first 15 minutes of it and then I stopped watching it, I was deeply offended. And I have memories, all of us have memories of IC-814, how it left a scar on our nation, that trauma. And it is still not fully healed for many people. And for that to be misrepresented, that Pakistan ISI-backed hijack event to be misrepresented as something being done by Indians, I think as a personally and my personal opinion, it is very, very unfortunate and it is in some sense almost criminal.
Let me first lay out the broad parameters of this discussion. The question we are asking on this broadcast: have terrorists been glorified in IC 814, the Kandahar hijack? Has role of Pakistan's ISI been whitewashed in this Netflix series? And let me take this one by one. Advaita Kala, let me kick off by asking you, have terrorists been glorified in IC 814, the Kandahar hijack, in this Netflix series?
Well, I don't know about being glorified, but certainly humanized. And I think that is equally problematic, because there should be no gray areas when it comes to terrorists. We know exactly what they stand for, what they're capable of doing, what they do, and how far they're ready to go to pursue their agenda. So I really don't think that there is any need to even glorify. You just have to not humanize them. And unfortunately, that is what has happened with this show. And that is why people are responding to it in such a negative manner, because this was obviously a very traumatic incident in India's history. Incidents like this do scar the psyche. That is why they are carried out. That's why terrorists carry them out. We all saw a couple of years later, when 9/11 took place and thousands lost their lives, how the Americans responded. So these are very traumatic events. I'm speaking from an emotional and a psychological perspective. Now, you will never find Americans making a film on 9/11 or a series on 9/11 where, even if they want to show governmental or intelligence failure, they will never humanize or glorify terrorists. That's just not acceptable.
Okay, Ravira Bharadwaj, respond to the criticism that this shows terrorists in a humane manner. And I'll come to that Bhola and Shankar and the Pakistani names, the real names of these Pakistani terrorists in a moment. But respond to this criticism that terrorists are being humanized through series like this.
No, I agree they shouldn't be humanized, but there's something called as creative liberty. In cinema, we do have a creative liberty where we are showing the different side and the actual storyline that actually took place during that time, because I know the filmmakers generally stick to the truth of the incident that happened. So I think it's just a way of showing the other side, but definitely I agree they shouldn't be humanized. But we can be open about seeing what exactly went down in their heads, in their minds, and that's why this incident took place. I think this was a filmmaker's style of telling people that you should understand the psyche also why this happened.
Raghav Avasthi, would you buy this logic that it's a creative license that a filmmaker has? Why should people object even if terrorists are being humanized? Maybe in the mind of the filmmakers, the terrorists had a humane angle to them.
There are two aspects here. First aspect is, of course, that there was an intelligence failure. There is no doubt about it. And if the web series shows that there is intelligence failure, there is nothing wrong. Having said that, what I have more of a problem with, of course, is the names that have been depicted. And secondly, the absolute whitewashing of the role of the ISI and the Afghan Taliban, which at that point in time used to be completely under the control of the ISI. Since then, they have broken free, or whatever it is, they are probably not under the control of the ISI. So I think the most insidious part of this film is when you take an intelligence agency that has been inimical to India since day one, and you are trying to show them as if they tried to save innocent lives. And just look at the manner in which the Taliban has been depicted, as if they are not the kind of terrorists that till now they don't allow women to be educated, and they have been depicted as if they were trying to help in some sort of a bona fide manner. I don't know about Advaita ji, but I've actually watched the whole web series. I don't know whether she has been able to get the time to do that, but after watching the web series and after also having followed the newspapers at that point in time, I have realized that this is nothing, this is absolutely nothing, but as Veer Sanghvi put it, Veer Sanghvi ji is somebody who's not much of a supporter of the BJP. He has said that it seems to be some sort of a whitewash of the role of the ISI.
But Shehzad Khan, whitewashing the role of Pakistan ISI, this is not just criminal, it is sin. And if this has been done, this is truly a sin that's been committed by the filmmakers here, sir.
Thank you very much for having me on your channel. First and foremost, I have seen the entire series, and I don't see any whitewashing of any terrorist group. they're being exposed, how cruel, how bad they are, how ruthless they are. And maybe the Taliban was playing a double game. That also can be seen in the series. It's a very well-made series. It shows what has happened that time, and it has hidden a lot of facts. The facts that a bureaucrat's wife was on the flight, because of which the commandos in Amritsar couldn't barge in and and take over the plane. It shows that there was a very, very rich man from that they didn't show, but they showed an English man, for a very rich man from Switzerland. First time he always flew private jets. First time he was going in a public airlines, and he also happened to be there. And the Swiss government told the Indian government that we are ready to negotiate, we are ready to pay the amount, what they are asking for. So please, just see the thing, try to read, and we should try to learn from our mistakes. And it is the duty of the intelligence agencies that henceforth in future, such things should not happen with our citizens, especially of India, and with our airlines, and with the humans around us.
So you're saying ISI role is not whitewashed? You're raising certain facts that are not part of the series. So I will not say that. I will not say that. And I don't know whether it's because of the bureaucrat's wife that you claim that the plane wasn't stopped at Amritsar. The fact remains that the Punjab police chief then was directed to fire at the wheels of the plane. But he was too timid to do so by his own admission in a book. But let me bring in Raghav Avasthi. Raghav Avasthi, there is no whitewash of Pakistan's ISI, says Shehzad Khan. And you have your hands up, response, sir.
Shehzad is right. To, as far as one aspect is concerned, Shehzad is actually right. What he is saying is that there was some sort of an intelligence failure, that is one, and that there were other people who were on the plane and their relatives were putting constant pressure on the Indian government in a manner that perhaps Israeli citizens would not do. So both these points are right, but ultimately we need to know. We need to know that it was the ISI and the Afghan Taliban that were working in cahoots with each other. They are being portrayed as some sort of humanists. So if you portray them as some sort of humanist, then allegations of whitewashing will definitely be leveled against you. And I am not at all saying that there was no intelligence failure, or that powerful and influential people did not put outsized pressure on the Indian government to negotiate with the terrorists. There is no doubt about it. I was 13 years old. I was old enough to know what was happening. There were people who were demonstrating outside South Block, and they were saying things like, we don't care,
not just outside South Block, outside what was then known as 7 Racecourse Road, then Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee's residence, and there were families that were protesting there, and the role of a section of the media that was highlighting those protests, that cacophony that was built for early release. Let there be a happy new year. Let them be released. The amount of pressure that was mounted on the government, but governments are supposed to withstand pressure. Ravira Bharadwaj, why is this creative license taken in such a way? Because you're saying, okay, it's a filmmaker's creative license, but why a creative license to show ISI in good light, or to give creative, to give a humanist angle, that these terrorists are humanists? For heaven's sake, they were barbarians. They killed Rupan Katyal, and how? Stabbed a man who was coming back from his honeymoon. They stabbed him in front of his newlywed wife. Then the manner in which these people were kept as prisoners in Kandahar, the fact that Pakistan ISI was responsible for this, all of that whitewashed through this series.
I don't think so it's whitewashed. I think it's all, again, I'm telling you, it's creative liberty, that we are actually taking the truth from what happened and showcasing it to the audience. We are trying to educate the audience what is happening. That is what cinema is all about. I think we take cinema too seriously, and we always rip it apart when it comes to names, humanizing stuff or something. I think it's just a way of showcasing information in an entertainment way. I think we should be more focused on what is actually happening in the country than what a series is doing to some viewers around here. And there is always a creative liberty. That's why it's called cinema, fictional cinema. Even if it's inspired by true events, there is a creative liberty involved while making the show, because it's a show, and people are forgetting that it's a show and just getting too deep into it and bifurcating it.
Adwaita wanted to respond first, Adwaita, and then I'm coming to you, sir.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm a screenwriter. I write films. There is a line that you draw when you deal with true stories, especially true stories that have had emotional impact. As a writer, I'm speaking. Okay, even in the pseudonyms that were used, it's very easy to clear the fact on screen that these were pseudonyms. You could have had a moment where those two Hindu named characters, terrorists, refer to each other by their actual names. So that's a tell. And the audience knows that they have pseudonyms. But when you don't make those slight changes to a screenplay and you go by, oh, this was the way it actually happened, and then you give a clean chit to the ISI and you humanize the terrorists, then everybody is going to be very suspicious of what the motives were, because these are easy fixes on a screenplay level, on a narrative level. But you choose not to do that. And I'm sorry, if something is based on true events, widely reported events, then you are going to be held to account for the things that you portray. Otherwise, just call it fiction and have all the creative liberty you want. No problem. Go ahead. I mean, make the terrorist a hero. That's your call.
So the hijackers were Ibrahim Akhtar. Ibrahim Akhtar is from Bahawalpur in Pakistan, southern Punjab province. Shahid Akhtar Saeed, Sani Ahmed Qazi, Zahoor Mistri, they were all from Karachi, again in Pakistan. Shakir was from Sukur, again in Pakistan. But Shehzad Khan, none of this is mentioned in this Netflix series. The terrorists are only shown as Burger, Bhola and Shankar.
See, that must be the code names that they had kept. And they looked very immature. And the ISI, nobody is trying to give any clean chit to ISI. What has happened, as one of my colleagues on the panel said, they have shown that, and they have shown it to the T. Every fact has been shown, but still, I would say a lot of facts have been hidden for the betterment of the series, which you can see all around YouTube. Now the survivors, the original survivors, the travelers on the plane, they are coming out and giving their interviews and their viewpoints. And from them, we come to know that how heartless these terrorists were. And it is clearly seen in the series that they were heartless people. The way they stabbed that young guy, that young married guy. So terrorists are nobodies. वो किसी के बाप के नहीं होते.
Mr. Awasthi, go on, make your point, sir.
Two more points. First of all, it's really asinine to say that it is just a movie. Movies can be very influential. Your father was posted in Kashmir. You would know what happened after this Lion of the Desert movie about Omar Mukhtar of Libya was released. And that was the catalyst for the spread of terrorism, one of the catalysts. The other point is that it's not just about giving them Hindu names. If you actually watch, I think it was Patralekha's character, and she's playing the air hostess. And at one point in time, she says that she finds one of the terrorists hot. So what is it that you are trying to portray? Are you trying to give a message to impressionable young women and girls that somebody who's also a terrorist? This, ties in with the point about dehumanization. And when I watched it, I was absolutely aghast. Tomorrow, if there is a character who is a rapist or a terrorist or a murderer, is it possible? Would you show in the movie that he's supposed to be found hot by women? What is it? These filmmakers should have some sense of responsibility. And as far as I am concerned, I am very much a free speech absolutist. But such movies should be banned because they have the potential of causing communal tension, and they are portraying completely wrong values. There are a lot of people who would know about IC-814 only through this movie.
Shehzad Khan, is this reason enough to summon the Netflix India content, or is this an unnecessary curb on free speech?
It's an unnecessary curb on free speech. Some time back, some party had an objection on Deepika's that costume which she had worn. Why is it orange color? Why are they looking at all these nitty-gritties? Let them, there are bigger things to look after, and they should look at that. And in this series, web series, it has clearly been shown the failure of the then intelligence agencies and, of course, the then government. So why to just we just see
Raghav
the thing,
Avasthi,
see what has
Raghav
happened,
Avasthi, you're
and
a
if you
free
want to see
speech
it, see it.
absolutist, and yet you want this series banned because Mr. Shehzad Khan very clearly says this is curbing free speech, summoning Netflix India content head.
I don't think this is a free speech issue at all. Tomorrow you want to go ahead in the public square and start yelling that the Nirbhaya rapists were really nice people and some of them might also be hot.
How can
Of
you
course,
compare
that's not free speech. That's not free speech. Yes, it is comparable because if you are portraying a terrorist as somebody who's appealing to women, then of course you are not only humanizing him, you are saying that somehow committing acts of terror is hot. That's the subliminal message that is going across to the audience. And it's not just a movie. As I said, for many people who didn't, because I think from that time, the news reports would also not be on the internet. For them, I see it, this web series is their only source of information about this hijack. So what is it that you are telling them? First of all, you are portraying what is widely reported inaccurately, and it is something that, as I reiterated earlier, has been called out by journalists who have no editorial leanings towards the BJP. Everybody knows. If you ask people in Pakistan, they will also tell you the same thing that the
I'm not going on individuals. No, Raghav Avasthi, I'm least interested in going on individuals. I'm on the wider issue. I'm on the bigger issue of free speech, and I'm on the bigger issue of whether Netflix India content head should be summoned or the series, as you say, should it be taken off air. Advaita Kala.
I will explain just for a moment. Netflix actually has a lot of control over scripting and all of these processes. So if they had some sort of filters, then those filters should have been employed. If they have not been employed, then since Netflix is making money in India through subscriptions, they bloody well tell us as to how, whether it was something deliberate or whether it was an accidental omission. They should tell us.
Okay, Advaita Kala, is this a curb on free speech, summoning Netflix India chief, content chief?
No, not at all. Not at all. See, because the OTT platforms and the government of India has come to an understanding where they have taken on an undertaking on their own, where they have said that they will subscribe to certain values when it comes to their shows on TV. Now, if they are reneging on those promises that they have made, then I think, yes, they need to have a conversation with the government of the day, because that is what they agreed to themselves. Because initially there was going to be some sort of censor board for OTTs. And then OTTs came back and said, no, we have certain standards and values and we will stick to those. Now, one of those obviously has to do with terrorism and not, glorifying them, humanizing them, sexualizing them and all of those things. So those are things they'll have to answer to.
Ravira Bharadwaj, even if those terrorists had code names Bhola and Shankar, even if it is being said on TV, replicating what was said on board that flight IC-814, should the fact that they were Pakistani terrorists, all 5 of them, I want to once again reiterate for the benefit of the younger audience who are watching this, Ibrahim Akhtar was one of those terrorists. He was from Bahawalpur in Pakistan. Shahid Akhtar Saeed was from Karachi. Ahmed Qazi was from Karachi. Zahoor Mistri was from Karachi. Shakir was from Sukur. And the terrorists who were released, once again, for the benefit of our viewers, 3 dreaded terrorists were released when IC-814 was hijacked, including that Maulana of terror, Masood Azhar. Apart from that, Ahmed Omar Saeed Sheikh, who then abducted Daniel Pearl and killed him. And also Mushtaq Ahmed Zargar. All these points, Ms. Bharadwaj, needs to come out through a series so that people know IC-814 was not about hot terrorists. It was all about bleeding innocent people and holding countries to ransom.
See, when you're keeping Hindu names, they disguise themselves with Hindu names like Bhola and Shankar, you were telling me. I didn't know that. And I'm sure younger audience would know that. So it's a great way of giving information that this can also happen, that terrorists can also disguise themselves with Hindu names. So I think it's a great way of information. Again, I just don't get it. That why are we stretching this thing that their names are Bhola and
Because the truth is not being told that they were Pakistani Muslim terrorists.
So me,
that
as a
truth is
younger
not
audience,
being told. Half
I
truth.
did not know I did not know that this happened during that time, that they were disguised with Hindu names. Now, as an audience, I have an information that this can also happen. And this actually happened, where they were disguised with Hindu names. So this is an informative platform that delivered an information, especially to the younger audience who didn't know about this attack. So how is that wrong?
Unless there is a far more devious game at play, Adwaita Kala, because right from that time, 2 26/11 Mumbai terror attacks where Ajmal Amir Kasab was also given a Hindu name. The 10 Pakistani Muslim terrorists were all given Hindu names, Hindu identity cards, and David Coleman Headley, incidentally, Daud Gilani was his original name. I covered his trial in that Chicago courthouse, so I know that he bought that Roli Kalava from the Siddhivinayak temple. It means there's a bigger game at play to get this bogey of Hindu terrorism in the country by some here and some across, Adwaita Kala.
Yes, that's a persistent threat, mostly because these are people who carry out attacks with the full intention of even giving up their lives. So you are going to assume that they're going to be dead when they're found, and hence dead men don't tell tales, right? So you go by what they're wearing on their wrist, or if they have a tilak on their forehead. So this was, of course, a plan of subterfuge. I think I just want to point out here that the reason we know that these guys had Hindu names, were originally, Pakistani, is only because of the outrage, because the series in itself does not really make that clear. And that's what I said. It was an easy fix at the script level. It's an easy fix post the show when you roll credits to put that out there. There's so many ways to easily fix this, but it was not done. And that's why I question this.
Fair enough. We will continue to track developments on the story very closely. To all my guests, many thanks for joining me. I need to slip into a quick break here.
Just came around to say hello. I'm so fly. You took a nosedive. Careful when you play on my level. For you it's so. Hey, hello.
Motorola Razr 50 Ultra. Flip the script.
Hello, Moto.
When a leader of the Congress party, a woman leader of the Congress party alleges harassment, alleges exploitation, they do not investigate it. They silence her and remove her from the party. This is the same Congress party where Priyanka Gandhi would say before an election, "Ladki hoon, lad sakti hoon." This is the same Congress party where Rahul Gandhi will go to Jammu and Kashmir and say on January 30th of this year that women have talked about rape and harassment. But when it comes to his own party, the Congress in Kerala, which has a huge, long list, dubious record of harassment complaints that are on record from various members of the Congress, women members of the Congress, he does nothing.
बावजूद इसके आज अमानतुल्लाह खान जो आम आदमी पार्टी के विधायक हैं, उनके घर पर ईडी सुबह सुबह छापा मारने के लिए पहुंच गई। ऐसे वक्त में जब उनकी मदर इन लॉ को कैंसर हुआ है, उनका ऑपरेशन हुआ है, और ऐसा नहीं कि ईडी को इस बात की जानकारी नहीं, तो मैं समझता हूं कि ईडी वालों को अपनी कार्रवाई पर ध्यान देना चाहिए। सुप्रीम कोर्ट से बार बार तुम लोगों को लताड़ पड़ रही है, बावजूद इसके सिर्फ और सिर्फ मोदी के कठपुतली बन के रह गया हो।
आम आदमी पार्टी टोटल का टोटल अपराधियों से घिरा हुआ है, जिसका मुख्यमंत्री जेल में, कोई पैसा घोटाला, कोई आर्म्स घोटाला, कोई रंगबाजी में। इसलिए कोई व्यक्ति कानून से बड़ा नहीं होता है। अगर अमानतुल्लाह को, वहाँ के विधायक को, अगर उसके ऊपर कोई चार्ज है तो कोर्ट में उसका फैसला होगा।
Make your media plan smarter with India Today Live TV on your connected devices. Amplify your brand with 100 million smart internet viewers. To advertise, mail us at sales@aajtak.com.
Cinema, glitz, glamour, adulation. That's the real world. But the real world is that there's always pitch darkness right under the spotlight. Before the camera rolls and long after it stops for the spotlight to be on, there's a nexus of nepotism, of favoritism, of exploitation. It's an open secret that no one dares to talk about. Casting couch is a global reality, and so is Me Too. Yet each time this can of worms open, there are some who say, "I told you so," and some downplay it as a fad. The reality is, women in any profession are not safe from the predators who believe that in the name of power and manipulation, sexual favors are the norm of the day. The Hema Committee report has shaken the Malayalam film industry. Heads are rolling. More and more revelations are happening each day. Taking cue from the Tinseltown, women in other walks of life too are speaking up about abuse. Because the muck is out in the open, in murky Bollywood. A crush of reporters waited outside the Ernakulam Police Training Center on 10th of July 2017. Suddenly, a flurry of activity as a white vehicle entered. Because in this car was Malayalam superstar Dileep. Arrested for giving supari for the abduction and sexual assault of a fellow actress. That was the case that blew the lid of the dark secrets of sexual assault on women in Malayalam film industry. 6 months before she was abducted, sexually assaulted in a moving car. They even videographed the whole thing before dumping her at her friend's house. It sent shockwaves across Kerala. The Malayalam film fraternity mounted pressure on the state and shot a letter to Chief Minister Pinarayi Vijayan.
There was a criminal planning behind this. We need to bring them to justice.
ഉള്ള പ്രവർത്തനങ്ങൾക്കെല്ലാം അങ്ങേയറ്റം പൂർണ്ണമായ പിന്തുണ നൽകുക എന്നതാണ് നമുക്ക് ഇവിടെ ചെയ്യാൻ സാധിക്കുക.
I won't forget her crying. Let's not wait till our sister or mother face such situations.
In the next few days, the story started to unfold with each horrific detail after another. 3 days later, 4 suspects in the case were arrested. At the time, it seemed like an isolated case of kidnap and assault. Among those arrested was the actress's driver, Martin. That's when the needle turned to this man. Sunil Kumar, alias Pulsar Sunny. Finally, on February 23rd, this man too was arrested. That's when things started unraveling, and quickly. Pulsar Sunny gave the police leads on the involvement of Dileep. The actor pleaded innocent.
എനിക്ക് പറയാനുള്ളത് ഞാൻ പോലീസിനോടും കോടതിയോടൊക്കെ ഞാൻ നേരിട്ട് പറഞ്ഞോളാം. കാരണം എന്നെ പ്രതിയാക്കണമെന്ന് പറഞ്ഞിട്ട് കുറേ ആൾക്കാരെ ചുറ്റും എനിക്ക് ഒന്നും ചെയ്യാൻ പറ്റില്ല.
But the end was near. In April, Dileep lodged a counter-complaint saying he was being blackmailed. But upon interrogation, the holes in his story showed up. An image was released by a local news channel which showed Dileep with a fan and Pulsar Sunny in the background. Added to this were testimonies by Pulsar Sunny's cellmate that he was in touch with Dileep's associates from within jail. He was eventually arrested. Bollywood quickly disowned him at that time. Dileep allegedly planned to use the video of the sexual assault as leverage to blackmail the victim. A year later, another story surfaced. Another actress in 2018, when the Me Too movement was gaining momentum, alleged that she had faced sexual harassment from her co-star Alencia Ley Lopez. From making sexually explicit conversations to forcibly entering her room drunk and even getting into her bed while she was sleeping. The actress made shocking revelations about the degree of sexual harassment she faced from the actor. She asked for a public apology, and the accused, Alencia, did issue an apology note. There were many more, and it led to the Kerala government to form the Justice Hema Committee in 2017. The panel submitted its report to the government in 2019. But for the next 4.5 years, Women in Cinema Collective, or the WCC, had to fight tooth and nail to release the report. When a redacted version came out last month, it had heads rolling and more skeletons started to come out of the cupboard.
അപ്പോൾ ഇദ്ദേഹം അവിടെ വെച്ചിട്ടാണ് എന്നെ സെക്ഷുവലി അബ്യൂസ് ചെയ്തത്. ഇറ്റ് വാസ് എ ട്രാപ്പ്.
Within days, there were dark and damning revelations from the Malayalam film industry. Two actresses leveled serious allegations of rape and molestation against two prominent Bollywood figures. Veteran Malayalam actor Siddiq is accused of raping a young actress who was just 21-year-old. The alleged survivor said she was raped by Siddiq at a hotel after he called her to discuss a movie.
അപ്പോൾ ഇദ്ദേഹം അവിടെ വെച്ചിട്ടാണ് എന്നെ സെക്ഷുവലി അബ്യൂസ് ചെയ്തത്. ഇറ്റ് വാസ് എ ട്രാപ്പ്. അങ്ങേര് ഇന്ന് പറഞ്ഞുകൊണ്ടിരിക്കുന്ന എല്ലാ കാര്യങ്ങളും പച്ചക്കള്ളമാണ്. അയാൾ ഞാനടക്കമുള്ള പല സർവൈവേഴ്സിനോടും ചെയ്തിരിക്കുന്ന കാര്യങ്ങളെന്ന് പറയുന്നത് ഞാൻ നേരത്തെ സൂചിപ്പിച്ച പോലെ തന്നെ അത് റേപ്പാണ്.
These allegations forced Siddiq to resign as General Secretary of the Association of Malayalam Movie Artists. He has written a letter to Kerala DGP claiming a criminal conspiracy to spread false and scandalous allegations against him. Another leading Malayalam film director, Ranjit, faced charges of molestation after Bengali actress Srilekha Mitra accused him of past sexual harassment. Srilekha claimed that Ranjit lured her into a dark room in 2009 and touched her inappropriately.
Apparently, he hasn't, sexually harassed me, or I wasn't molested. He hasn't touched my private part. But I know, being a woman, we know what is what, and it was a litmus test for him, probably.
Soon after, Ranjit stepped down as chairman of the Kerala Chalachitra Academy. But he also dismissed Srilekha's allegations as false and is now contemplating legal action.
നുണയായിരുന്നു, അതിലെ ഒരു ഭാഗം നുണയായിരുന്നു എന്നും ആ ഭാഗമാണ് അത് അവർ തന്നെ പരസ്പര വിരുദ്ധമായ പ്രസ്താവനകളാണ് നടത്തിയിട്ടുള്ളത്. അതിന്റെ വിശദാംശങ്ങളിലേക്ക് ഞാൻ കടക്കുന്നില്ല. എന്തുതന്നെയായിരുന്നാലും ഞാൻ നിയമ നടപടികളുമായി മുന്നോട്ട് പോകുവാൻ തീരുമാനിച്ചിരിക്കുന്നു. ഇതിന്റെ പിന്നിലെ സത്യം എന്താണ്?
These revelations happened as soon as parts of the Hema Committee report became public. The report laid bare the Kerala film industry's worst-kept secrets. The panel revealed that sexual exploitation of women actors is rampant in Kerala. Male industry figures demand sexual favors openly. The panel report from 2019, tabled by the left government days ago, said women have few choices: oblige or give up on dreams. And the powerful male mafia silences survivors.
I want all governments to do something on this. I want the entire Indian government to do something on this. Actually, not only are ICCs mandated by law, and the sacrifice of Bhavari Devi and her work and the Vishakha guidelines, the LCCs are supposed to be there in every district, in every space. We don't have that because no government is really interested in setting up all of that. It takes effort, it takes the right people in the right places with the right intention to actually make those things happen.
The list started to get longer. Many artists came out naming actors who allegedly harassed them or used their position to seek sexual favors but were rebuffed in their efforts. In a Facebook post, a female junior artist named CPM MLA and actor Mukesh, superstar Jayasurya, actor Maniyambilla Raju, former General Secretary of Amma, Edavila Babu, and production controllers.
മുകേഷ് ചേട്ടൻ പറഞ്ഞ കാര്യം എന്താണെന്ന് വെച്ചാൽ, നീ ആർക്കും കൊടുക്കണ്ടേ, മെഴുകുതിരിയുടെ ഉരുക്കോ വാസ്കല്ലേ, വാസ്ക് വെച്ച് അടച്ചു വെച്ചോ, നീ ആർക്കും കൊടുക്കണ്ട എന്നങ്ങനെ എൻ്റെ അടുത്ത് പറഞ്ഞു. അമ്മയിൽ ചേരണമെങ്കിൽ 3 സിനിമ കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ അമ്മയിൽ മെമ്പർഷിപ്പ് എടുക്കാം. ഞാൻ 6 സിനിമയോളം കഴിഞ്ഞായിരുന്നു. അപ്പം അവിടെ ചെന്നപ്പോഴത്തേക്കാണെങ്കിൽ പുള്ളിക്കാരൻ വിളിച്ച മുകേഷ് ചേട്ടൻ എന്നെ വിളിച്ചിട്ട് പറയാം, ആഹാ ഞാൻ അറിയാതെ അങ്ങോട്ടങ്ങ് നുഴഞ്ഞ് അമ്മയിൽ കയറാമെന്ന് വിചാരിച്ചല്ലേ. ഞാൻ അറിയാതെ ഒരു സംഭവവും മലയാള സിനിമയിൽ നടക്കില്ല, അത് ആദ്യം നീ മനസ്സിലാക്കിക്കോ. അപ്പോൾ ഞാൻ അവിടുത്തെ ടോയ്ലറ്റിൽ പോയിട്ട് വരുമ്പം എന്നെ പുറകിൽ നിന്ന് കയറി ഈ ജയസൂര്യ പെട്ടെന്ന് കയറി കെട്ടിപ്പിടിച്ചപ്പോൾ തിരിഞ്ഞിങ്ങനെ നോക്കിയപ്പോഴത്തേക്കും എൻ്റെ ചുണ്ടിലോട്ട് അമർത്തി ചുംബിച്ചു. ചുംബിച്ചു പുള്ളിക്കാരൻ. അതൊരിക്കലും അത് ശരിയായില്ല. ഞാനൊരു കാര്യം ചോദിക്കും, എസ് ഓർ നോ എന്ന് മാത്രം പറഞ്ഞാൽ മതി. അപ്പോൾ ഞാൻ ചെന്തേ പറഞ്ഞു, അതെ എനിക്ക് ഇവിടെ ട്രിവാൻഡ്രത്ത് ഫ്ലാറ്റ് ഉണ്ട്, എനിക്ക് മിന്നുവിന് ഇൻട്രസ്റ്റഡ് ആണ്, താല്പര്യമുണ്ടെങ്കിൽ നമുക്ക് ഫ്ലാറ്റിൽ വെച്ച് കാണാം. ഞാൻ പറഞ്ഞു നോ, അത്ര പറഞ്ഞു.
Director Tulsi Das was named by actor Geeta Vijayan as having knocked on her doors repeatedly at night to gain entry into her hotel room. Actor Babu Raj has been accused of rape by a junior artist. He has rejected the charge. A meeting was called by Amma in the last week of August. It was postponed after its chief Mohanlal said he would not be able to join. Prominent stars of Malayalam film industry, including Mohanlal and Mammootty, till then maintained silence on the Me Too storm.
If these investigations lead to the allegations being proven right, proven correct, there has to be exemplary punishments handed out.
The next generation superstars of Bollywood like Dulquer Salman, Fahad Fasil, to name a few, also maintained silence. But there are telling signs that the industry is being forced to act on the allegations. In the biggest impact yet of countless women speaking out, the all-powerful actors' lobby that calls the shots in Bollywood got dismantled. The Amma, Association of Malayalam Movie Artists governing body, within days of postponing its meeting, stepped down with President Mohanlal also quitting his position.